Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Let you conquer the abyss, and you become the king of the abyss. Chapter 81. The battle lasted only a few minutes. Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi were chasing the skeleton soldiers. After they were caught, their ribs were broken into 9 sections. The scene was extremely cruel. These skeleton soldiers are not only unattractive, they are not even useful. The average level is above 30, but their combat effectiveness is ridiculously weak. After being weakened by the Abyss King power, more than a dozen of them fell apart on the spot, and the remaining ones were even worse. He ran away in a panic, and when he ran, his upper jaw and lower jaw opened and closed, making a clicking sound, which was similar to playing Allegro. The Red Ogre was also beaten with a bruised nose and face. He kept his kneeling position with his hands on the ground. Chu Ran sat on its back and played with a black round card engraved with a lightning symbol. I don't know what kind of material this thing is made of. It doesn't seem to be the metal of Blue Star. It feels smooth and heavy. After rubbing it twice, it still feels a little tingling. The lightning symbol on it flashes from time to time. It just looks special. Chu Ran looked at Mu Qingwan. So this thing is your job change tool? The secret treasure of the King of the Devil's Sea. Mu Qingwan nodded. To be more precise, this thing itself is a ready-made career route. When I got it, the job transfer task updated the prompt and asked me whether to change jobs. I'm not sure what it is. I don't care about the system for now. She said with a sad face. I really don't know if I am unlucky or lucky. Normal job transfers are random jobs according to the current system, and there is a small probability of transferring to a powerful similar system. I have all been arranged. The road is blocked. Isn't that great? The path Blue Star will has arranged for you will not be bad. When Chu Ran said this, he thought of his career path. Isn't the current system that is being fixed also very strong? That's true, but there is one thing. Mainly, I don't know what kind of profession this thing is. If I change my profession, it will not become a profession below B level. And the level of this thing is unknown. If it is below B level, it will be over. Mu Qingwan sighed, and then said, Brother Chu, you should know that after the first awakening, you can also use the career book to transfer to a fixed career, right? I've heard that if the awakened profession is not good, you can change the system and start over at the first or second turn. In this way, you will transfer to the system of powerful professions. Even if you can't get the root of this system in the future, you will not be downgraded. Your A level is A level, S level is S level. Chu Ran nodded slightly. This is a way for rich people to play. If their child's first awakening profession is not good, then he can use the profession book when changing professions later. It can only be used in the first or second job, and it will be invalid in the third job. Of course, even if you use money to change your destiny, you may end up with a trashy career of the same level in the future. This method can at most ensure that your career level does not drop. If you become an A-level top idol, it is better than an E-level idiot. I'm living a comfortable life, and at least the attribute growth at the professional level is there. Anyway, changing jobs is a gamble. This method can only be regarded as a guarantee. Even if you draw a junk card, you can at least guarantee that you are of purple quality. Actually, the job transfer letter is a cheating method left to the human race by Blue Star's will. According to the analysis of many people, the source is probably this special prop. Blue Star will is based on this power and created the career book. Mu Qingwan said, the current career book only has 1 to 2 transfers used, and all of them are professions that have appeared in the human race. In other words, if this special prop is a blind box, the profession book is an open box gift after the optimization of Blue Star's will. It's like I'm opening a blind box now. It's hard not to panic. Her expression was indeed tense. This happened to me when I changed jobs for the first time, and no one could accept the change. Although the professions in this thing may not be bad, but, who can say for sure? She was originally a B-level thief, but she changed jobs honestly. Even if she didn't get any good jobs, her bottom line was still B-level. If she got a C-level or D-level from the blind box, she wouldn't have anywhere to cry. Chu Ran didn't say anything, he just threw the disc up and caught it repeatedly. Speaking of which, I don't know whether it was because his career path was fixed, or because this thing was Mu Qingwan's special prop. Anyway, He didn't receive any relevant prompts when he held it in his hand. Logically speaking, this kind of thing similar to a career book, it can be used in turns 1 to 2. I am stuck at level 60, turn 2, so I should be able to use it. Although it was impossible for him to be so stupid as to trade his current job for an unknown gadget, this situation of no response when holding props in his hand triggered Chu Ran's other conjectures. Perhaps my profession was hand-picked by Blue Star, and the permissions are too high, and other professions cannot be used. Chu Ran thinks this is possible. Then, he suddenly raised his palm and slapped the Red Ogre on the back of the head. Speak, you are dead. The Red Ogre trembled, then steadied his body, not daring to move, otherwise the man on his back would have to beat him again. It asked cautiously, what do you want me to say? It's rare to meet a smart monster in the leveling area. Why didn't I kill you? I didn't have any idea. What do you think I want you to say? Chu Ran showed his boning knife and put it on its neck. Where is the treasure of the King of the Devil's Sea? There is no treasure. There really is no treasure. What I just said is all the truth. The red cannibal felt very aggrieved and said, the captain sacrificed the souls of all the crew members to the gods, including himself. How could he leave any treasure behind? What is this thing? Chu Ran handed the round plate to the red cannibal and flashed it in front of his eyes. Think it over before answering. I don't have much patience. I might chop off your head if my hand slips. Ah, this, I remember this thing seems to be the captain's lucky coin. The red cannibal's brain was working fast. It swore that it had never wished that its brain would be better in its life, believe me. I really can't remember. It was more than 100 years ago. Woo 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 woo. It started crying as it spoke. I have never seen such bullying. So this thing is a coin. Abyss coin. Chu Ran pondered for a while, threw the thing to Mu Qingwan, and said, if that's the case, I think you can give it a try, but this is your own business after all, you can consider it yourself. If it doesn't work, give up this job change and find another way. Mu Qingwan thought about it, her face became serious, and said, okay, then give it a try. She held the disc with her hand. Because her hand was too small, she could only hold the edge, slowly put it close to her forehead, and immediately chose to change her job. Wait a minute, you can't change your job. Stop. An angry voice sounded, followed by a chain blade flying through the air and rolling towards Mu Qingwan's wrist. Swish. The chain blade wrapped around Mu Qingwan's wrist. A young man with many short sticks around his waist stood at the door of the temple. His face was livid. He was about to pull the chain blade hard to take the disc. As a result, he found that he couldn't pull it. The young man was stunned. Then he saw Chu Ran next to Mu Qingwan holding the chain to stop him from pulling. The young man's eyes flashed slightly, and he exerted force secretly. The chain suddenly shook and stretched straight, but Chu Ran sat there motionless, with a question mark on his face. He was a little shocked to find that Chu Ran's strength attribute seemed to be higher than his. I'm level 87, majoring in strength, but I can't pull him. Just now I checked the information of several of them, and only he couldn't detect it. Could it be that this guy has reached the 3rd level? The young man's thoughts were rolling. He didn't expect that he would come out to perform a small task and meet a tough guy. No, who are you? Chu Ran was also confused. He didn't even say hello and started. It's really an old lady crawling into bed, making me laugh. Chu Ran didn't waste time talking to him. He guessed that this was the person who had just used the detection skill to sweep them, and directly threw an abyss gaze at him. Li Zan. Profession. S level. Weapon Master, 2nd transfer. Level. 87. Chu Ran stared at the line of words, Weapon Master, and was silent for a while. Fortunately, this guy didn't jump out with a street lamp, otherwise it would be too annoying. This should be a weapon master in the literal sense, but Chu Ran encountered an S-level profession for the first time, so he couldn't help but look at Li Zan twice and frowned. What do you want? Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi, who were originally chasing the skeleton soldiers, also came over and stared at Li Zan, waiting for Chu Ran's order to start. Li Zan didn't bother to pay attention to these 2 low-level minions, and said in a deep voice, that transfer item can't be used, let her. The words were not finished yet. A beam of light enveloped Mu Qingwan, and there were faint sounds of storms and thunder, which seemed quite powerful. Li Zan's face darkened, and he shook his head and said, you don't know what you have done. This is a trap set by the evil god of the abyss. Anyone who walks up to the altar and accepts the blessing of the statue will become his fanatic. This professional is ruined. He shook his wrist, and the chain loosened immediately. Chu Ran did not hold on to it, and let him put the chain blade back. Qi Wenxuan scratched his head. Why can't I understand what he is saying? Fang Yi whispered. That is to say, there is a problem with the job transfer task of the little thief, but it should be fine. Big Brother has raised the statue. Qi Wenxuan nodded, not quite understanding. Oh. Hearing that the statue was raised, Li Zan also frowned and looked up. Where is the statue here? You didn't hear it. No, come earlier next time. Qi Wenxuan shouted at the top of his voice, and Li Zan only felt a buzzing in his ears, a little shocked. This warrior's voice is so loud. Some warriors may not be as fierce as him when releasing war roars. You broke the statue. How did you do it? Even a fifth-class professional can't hurt the statue's body. No reason. Li Zan frowned deeper and deeper, staring at the job-changing light effect, and said, forget it, these are not important, let her go with me. Why? Qi Wenxuan widened his eyes. You are an interesting person. If you tell someone to go with you, they have to go with you. Who are you? Fang Yi nodded. That's right. Chu Ran slapped his thigh, stood up and looked at Li Zan. Brother, if you have any tricks, show them, otherwise don't talk to us here. This little thief spent money and is my client. You want to take her away just by talking to her. Chu Ran waved his hand. It doesn't work. Li Zan was silent for a few seconds, didn't say much, raised his hand directly, and instantly took out a token from his backpack and showed it to a few people. Qi Wenxuan blinked, didn't recognize it. Chu Ran pondered for a moment and didn't speak. Fang Yi saw the clues and was about to say something, but seeing that the two elder brothers were silent, he forced himself to hold back, holding his staff, and putting on the standard cold face of a young master. The reactions of these three people made Li Zan embarrassed. Ah, don't you know this thing? Li Zan pointed to the token in his hand. Qi Wenxuan nodded honestly and said, I really don't know it. Chu Ran patted him on the back. What the hell are you talking about? Your background is exposed. Li Zan said with a smile. He is really a newbie in a small place. Brother Zan, that is the identity certificate of the Abyss Special Events Management Investigation Department, abbreviated as the Special Affairs Department, but he is not wearing a uniform, probably an intern investigator. Fang Yi maintained a cold expression, just moved his neck, moved closer and whispered a reminder. After listening to this, Chu Ran still didn't understand how powerful this Jimao division was, so he could only ask, just tell me whether you can afford to offend or not. Fang Yi put down his staff and said with a wry smile, in short, if it is a case handled by the Special Affairs Division, as long as there is a formal investigator present, even an 8-turn boss has to give way. This is the rule established by the 6 prefectures of Longguo. The Special Affairs Division means that special matters are handled specially, and no one can come and report later. Chu Ran nodded. I understand, so I can't afford to offend. He bowed to Li Zan. It's all misunderstanding, goodbye. Withdraw. Chu Ran turned his head towards Qi Wenxuan and Fang Yi. Wait. Li Zan raised his hand, and the chain blade dropped from his wrist and slowly rotated. I didn't say you can leave. Brother, please keep a line in your life so that we can meet again in the future. If I chop you to death here, what kind of company can you find on my head? Chu Ran looked at Li Zan. That's almost it, ah. Li Zan didn't mind the threat. He just smiled and said, if you kill me, the Special Affairs Department will definitely investigate. It will be very simple to find you. How will you explain it then? I just said it killed him. Chu Ran pointed at the red ogre kneeling on the ground. Red ogre. N airy summation O_O winking face. First of all, I didn't mess with any of you. What does it have to do with me? The red ogre opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a sound broke through the air. The chain blade penetrated directly through its head. Li Zan flicked his arm. Wow. The red ogre's head spun and flew into the air. Gululu rolled to the side, his eyes widening. It didn't figure it out until it died. What does this have to do with it? Chu Ran looked at the dead red ogre, and after a few seconds of silence he sighed. That means there is no need to discuss it. Li Zan also sighed. Just go through the process, don't make it difficult for me. Difficult to do. Chu Ran showed off his boning knife and said, I'll give it to you, then don't do it. Before he could say it out loud, Mu Qingwan's beam of light instantly shrank from his job change. Her eyelashes fluttered, she opened her eyes and said in surprise, Boss Chu. It's turned, it's Class A. Chu Ran immediately turned to look at Mu Qingwan and activated Abyss Gaze. Mu Aocean, Mu Qingwan. Occupation: A level, Storm Adventurer, 1 turn. Level: 30, Storm Adventurer. Is this profession on par with thieves? What kind of trouble did Blue Star will do? Could it be that the guy called GFOC was right and that this thing was actually a conspiracy? Chu Ran frowned when he saw Mu Qingwan's occupation. Mu Qingwan said with excitement on her face, I didn't expect it to be an A-level combat profession. Brother Chu, I'm going to post it. The next second, she saw Li Zan at the door of the temple, and the strange atmosphere on both sides. After hesitating for a few seconds, she unconsciously lowered her voice. I seem to have woken up at the wrong time. Li Zan smiled and said, No, you woke up at the right time. He looked at Mu Qingwan and asked, Do you feel something is wrong now? For example, there is a voice talking to you in your head, but you can't hear what is being said. Or maybe you are anxious, angry, or uneasy, filled with these negative emotions. If you have any discomfort, speak it out as soon as possible, and you can solve the problem as soon as possible. If you develop into a fanatic, you are really hopeless. Li Zan's tone was very serious. Mu Qingwan was stunned for a moment. Fanatical believer. No, wait a minute, who are you? She looked suspicious. When did this person appear? And he talks so eloquently. It doesn't look like a good bird. Li Zan was also speechless. What's going on with this team? Why does everyone have to ask who you are? Li Zan subconsciously prepared to show his identity certificate, but then he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he was an investigator of the Special Affairs Department. Even if he was a trainee investigator, that also represented the reputation of the Special Affairs Department. If anyone asks a question, I have to answer it patiently. Why should the Special Affairs Secretary be so shameless? So Li Zan said solemnly, Who I am is not important. What is important now is, who are you? He took a step forward, his stern face was very oppressive, and he asked in a deep voice, Answer me, who is your god? Mu Qingwan frowned, moved her steps, and hid behind Chu Ran. Are you from the Abyss sect? Has the missionary spread here? Brother Chu, this kind of person is very dangerous and has brain problems. Humph, that's ridiculous. Mu Aocean is incompatible with you guys, so take action if you can. Chu Ran took her scarf and lifted her up, saying speechlessly, Then why are you hiding behind me? Go ahead and fight with him. When you die, we will collect your body for you. He threw Mu Qingwan outside. Mu Qingwan released a skill in midair, and the sounds of storms and tsunamis roared. She flashed in midair and returned to the starting point. She said with a smile, What, I just said it casually, Mr. Chu, don't take it seriously. Quote. She approached Fang Yi and asked, Dwarf, what's going on? Fang Yi's face was as dark as the bottom of a pot, and he stepped aside in disgust. Have you ever heard of the people from the Abyss Special Incident Investigation Department? Special Affairs Department. Mu Qingwan was shocked. How did you recruit these living kings of hell? Whenever the Special Affairs Department is provoked, it is no small matter. It is either the roar of the abyss, or a large-scale blood sacrifice. There are man-made chaos, and there are also natural disasters caused by the abyss. As long as it is related to the abyss, it can have a huge impact. There will be a Special Affairs Department. Anyway, no matter what the situation is, the Special Affairs Department is the kind of living hell that all professionals are unwilling to deal with. If you are not involved in the incident, you may be involved and lose your life. If you are involved in this matter, the slightest relationship, congratulations, once you enter the territory of the Special Affairs Department, it will not be so easy to get out. Mu Qingwan was a little confused. Why did the Special Affairs Department come to a place like this? This is just an ordinary leveling area. I'm on a mission, and the content needs to be kept confidential. It's best for you guys to come back with me to confirm the situation. Li Zan finished speaking calmly and looked at Mu Qingwan. Especially you must come with me. He shook the chain blade and said calmly, We'd better solve it peacefully. If we can, we won't do it, okay? Ah, Mu Qingwan hesitated. She didn't understand what the current situation was about. Moreover, the Special Affairs Department's reputation was so great that it was said that even the god of War Palace wouldn't give her face to talk to the Special Affairs Department. When the people from the company went there, I felt a little panicked. Little thief. At this time, Chu Ran said to Mu Qingwan, "This is security work. Add some money and I will settle it for you." Mu Qingwan immediately became alert. How much more? Chu Ran raised a finger. 10 million, this job offends people, the price I want is not outrageous, it is already very kind. Brother Chu, do you think there is a possibility? Mu Qingwan said as she was thinking. I chose to surrender and leave with the people from the Special Affairs Department, even taking the 5 million promised before. Chu Ran showed a kind smile. You can try it. It's not troublesome to dig an extra hole anyway. Dig a hole. Why dig a hole? Where to dig? Do you need my help? Qi Wenxuan finally understood something and interrupted. Fang Yi quickly grabbed the eldest brother and reminded him. The eldest brother means to dig 2 holes and bury both the investigators from the Special Affairs Department and the dwarf thief. Qi Wenxuan suddenly said awkwardly, "That's not good. The thieves are not bad. They taught us a lot of knowledge along the way." Forget it, I see you didn't listen to a word I said. Fang Yi sighed. Mu Qingwan laughed. I was just joking, why did you take it seriously, Mr. Chu? I'll settle the 5 million for you first, as for the security service, you don't need it. The 5 million is all my property, where did I get the 10 million to ask you to help? What's more, the Special Affairs Department wants to take me back for investigation, so let's investigate. I haven't done anything wrong, just investigate casually, a person with a clear conscience has nothing to fear. She shouted to Li Zan, I'll go with you, don't bother them, this matter has nothing to do with them. Then she transferred the agreed 5 million to Chu Ran. Before, when she was in the Death Desert, she cheated Chu Ran of 5,000 blue star coins, and then returned them, and she had already saved the account at that time. Chu Ran received the prompt, sighed, and looked at Mu Qingwan deeply. What do you mean, do you want to take the blame yourself? Don't you want to implicate us? Mu Qingwan said it happily, but in fact she was ready to take the blame herself. It is definitely not a wise move to have a conflict with the people from the Special Affairs Department. Even if Chu Ran can win, the trouble will be very big afterwards. Mu Qingwan laughed, walked directly to Li Zan, and waved her hand with her back to Chu Ran. See you next time. Qi Wenxuan was stunned, as if he wanted to say something, looked at Chu Ran, but said nothing. Fang Yi was silent, wiped his eyes secretly, and finally looked at Chu Ran. Brother, how about? I pay for this. No, are you guys done yet? Li Zan's scalp numbed and said, I want to take her to understand the situation, not to kill her. Why do you make me look like a bad guy? Li Zan almost collapsed. I didn't do anything. He was just carrying out the mission of tracking down the evil god of the abyss, and happened to encounter this situation. As usual, he took the person back to understand the situation. Why did he let it go to a life and death scene? You are amazing, you are noble. The friendship between teammates is so deep that I burst into tears. Then why am I a bad person? Li Zan raised his hand and said to Mu Qingwan with a straight face, pull him down. Don't come here yet. Let's make it clear. I'm not forcing you to do anything. The job transfer item you got is probably related to the Abyss Evil God. I just want to know the specific situation from you. As long as you have no problem, our Special Affairs Department will not make things difficult for you. No. What's going on with you guys? In your eyes, the Special Affairs Department is the Palace of Hell. Halfway through, Li Zan realized that several people were the same. His face was in disbelief, and he almost wanted to show off. The Special Tasks Department investigates abyss events all over the Dragon Kingdom. If there is any dangerous situation, they rush to the front line. The seniors all said that joining the Special Tasks Department will definitely be respected by others. It is a job that is both glorious and promising. Why is this different from what was promised? Fang Yi said in a low tone. Don't you know what the reputation of the Special Tasks Department is? Yes, you do have the highest casualty rate among the non-combat departments. You have to press forward when encountering any danger. The key is, to enter. How can your territory be left intact? The little thief is obviously unjust. How can she be fine if she goes to the Special Affairs Department? Li Zan's face darkened. Our Special Affairs Division will not wrong anyone. The situation you mentioned proves that they themselves have problems. Fang Yi let out a cut sound. The Special Affairs Department is so stupid. There is not even a single unjust, false or wrong case. Who can say for sure? That makes sense. Qi Wenxuan patted Fang Yi's shoulder excitedly, almost knocking him over, and gave him a thumbs up. Xiao Fang, you are so eloquent. Fang Yi grinned, rubbed his shoulders, and nodded. Brother Zan, you're not bad either, good work. Let's do this. Chu Ran shook his head and said to Li Zan, I will decide this matter. Everyone takes a step back. Since we want to understand the situation, let's adopt the principle of being close to you and don't go to your Special Affairs Department. The closest here is the Xichang. Go to the Haicheng Public Security Bureau to find a place to ask a few words, and confirm that there is no problem, and this matter will be over. Quote. What do you think? Chu Ran looked at Li Zan. The way he spoke was very polite, but he had a boning knife in one hand and a chicken drumstick in the other. If he could restrain his eagerness to try, Li Zan would definitely think that he was sincere and not want to hack himself to death. Okay. Li Zan weighed it again and again, and felt that Chu Ran's arrangement made sense. I will ask the Haicheng Public Security Bureau to cooperate, find a quiet environment, and just ask a few questions. You'd better not lie to me. Li Zan started the reverse teleportation, and the magic circle emerged under his feet, slowly rising up. He stared at Chu Ran and said, otherwise, you will be characterized as fugitives or followers of the evil god, which will be troublesome. Yes, do you understand? Understood. See you in Haicheng. Chu Ran waved to him. Li Zan stared at Chu Ran non-stop until the teleportation circle completely covered him. In a flash of light, he was gone. Brother, that guy doesn't seem to believe you. Seeing that Li Zan had really left, Fang Yi couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and said dissatisfied, isn't this questioning your character, brother? Wait until I turn 3 and see him hit me once him once. In the end, Chu Ran sneered and said, as expected of an investigator from the Special Affairs Department, he is so sharp that he actually noticed it. Brother, what do you mean? Fang Yi was shocked. You don't want to let him go, do you? No. Chu Ran shook his head and said calmly, I gave him a precious gift. Fang Yi was in awe and asked humbly, what gift? Teach him a lesson. Chu Ran carried a chicken leg and a big stick. As an investigator, you shouldn't just believe what the suspect says. Isn't this common sense? If a novice like him doesn't stumble with me today, he will suffer in the future. It's a big loss. When he becomes a qualified investigator in the future, he will definitely thank me from the bottom of his heart when he thinks of my gift today. Yes, is that so? Ha ha. Fang Yi's little face was a little twisted, and he couldn't say anything flattering. Shameless, so shameless, Mu Qingwan said with a smile. Brother Chu, you are insightful. But I still have to go to the appointment. After all, the origin of this job-changing item is unknown. If I don't ask clearly, I won't know anything about it. Mu Qingwan said, it should be okay to ask questions at the Haicheng Public Security Bureau. I'll go there then. Let's see what happens and tell you again. Seeing her insistence, Chu Ran didn't try to persuade her. This was her own business. She just said, if there is any trouble, you can speak up and we can find a solution together. You can be regarded as my high-quality customer and have some privileges. Quote. It's a pity that if you had chosen to spend 10 million just now, you could have become my VIP customer. You missed out on the privilege upgrade. Chu Ran sighed, and then said, now that everything has been resolved, let's go. As he spoke, the surrounding environment was gradually changing. The originally magnificent temple was disintegrating and dissipating, turning into countless particles, restoring the original space inside the ship. However, the big hole that Chu Ran blew was still there, and it was being filled with water like crazy. Chu Ran glanced at the big hole. This secret room was directly destroyed by playing, but it could be regarded as a trap, and the broken authority of the Almighty God of Truth was blown up, so that this ghost would not harm the newcomers. Reverse teleport. Chu Ran didn't waste time and said to the few people. Wait, Mu Qingwan shouted, and then took out the green oil lamp. The terrifying human face inside was almost solid, and rushed left and right, trying to break the lamp wall. My mission is over. This thing, just leave it. Mu Qingwan put down the oil lamp and sighed. The soul of this ghost first mate is eternally tortured by the fire of the abyss. Maybe this shipwreck is its destination. Chu Ran glanced at it, said nothing, and started the reverse teleportation. Feng Yi didn't dare to look at the oil lamp. After all, there was a soul of an abyss creature in it, which was weird and creepy. Then he was teleported. After Qi Wenxuan started the teleportation, he scratched his head and said, "The face in this oil lamp is very unique, but it's a pity that it's a fool." Mu Qingwan finally looked at the oil lamp and sighed and started the teleportation. After all, as a thief who loves treasure hunting, he has a lot of feelings for the treasures and special items he found. The ghost first mate wanted to challenge the authority of the King of the Sea when he was alive. After his death, let him stay on this ship. The magic circle gathered under their feet and rose upwards. Near the last moment, there was a click. They suddenly found that the oil lamp suddenly exploded, and the dark green flame inside flowed out, spreading all over the ground, condensing into a vague figure composed of flames. Chu Ran subconsciously prepared to blow it up with the abyss annihilation. Mu Qingwan hurriedly stopped him. "Wait, Boss Chu, it doesn't seem to be coming for us." The figure did not pay attention to their meaning, but laughed silently, ran and jumped, stretched out his hand to touch the hull, and the movement was gentle, as if he was touching his own child. As it touched, the hull burned instantly. The green fire continued to spread, engulfing the hull, and spread quickly. Although this huge ship was incredibly large, as long as it was given enough time, it would definitely set the ship on fire. Faintly, several people seemed to hear a voice, vague, full of hatred and madness. "Dead, all dead. You failed it. Crazy man who believes in the evil god, you destroyed everything, you don't deserve to have this treasure. Despicable evil god's lackey, you don't deserve it. I am the captain of the devil. No one can separate us, turn to ashes with me. Ha 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 ha." The last moment the transmission ends. The four of them only saw the monstrous green fire, swallowing up everything in front of them. Those flames had no temperature and would not hurt anyone, otherwise they would interrupt their reverse teleportation. It seemed that the ghost mate just wanted to take away this person. A huge ship that has sunk at the bottom of the sea for who knows how many years. Reminiscent of the oil lamp information shared by Mu Qingwan, the ghost mate has been trapped in the lamp for many years, his soul has been eternally tortured by the fire of the abyss, and he is still coveting the treasure of the King of the Devil's Sea. To the ghost mate, this ship is a treasure, right? The light flickered, and several people returned to the Haicheng teleportation array. The surroundings suddenly became lively. The voices of newbies asking for help, people starting groups in the leveling area, and some stalls selling goods came like a tide, which immediately interrupted their thoughts. That guy is quite pitiful, but fortunately, the short man put down the oil lamp in the end, so he got what he wanted. Feng Yi came back to his senses, scratched his white hair, and sighed. Speaking of which, the creatures in the leveling area are actually tricked by the abyss, right? I heard that the process of the abyss invasion is essentially a forced behavior. Except for the Emperor's Legion, which has independent power, the rest are just randomly selected cannon fodder. Let's see now. The leveling area we arrived at was their afterimage. These creatures were probably already dead when they were picked by the abyss. Maybe. Mu Qingwan forced a smile. Maybe, everything we see is just a tiny speck of dust in the abyss, very inconspicuous but also very real. In fact, aren't we the same? Compared to the abyss, we are just insignificant dust. She opened her hand, and in a flash of light, a diary burned to black appeared. This is a prop left behind after the ghost mate died completely. Maybe Blue Star judged that I freed it, which was equivalent to giving it a finishing blow, so this thing went into my backpack. Mu Qingwan seemed to have read some content and was not very interested. She just shared the detailed content to the team channel. A lot of the information inside has turned into question marks and should be damaged content. Most of the rest is ordinary daily life. It records that an abyss ghost tribe named Tulan left the tribe with great ambitions and went to the Devil's Sea, and eventually became the story of becoming the right-hand man of the Sea King. The contents of the next dozen pages aroused the interest of several people. The situation is getting worse and worse recently. Only 1/3 of the sea area remains, and it seems that it is not that far away before we are completely wiped out. The worst thing is that Buck's madness is getting more and more serious. He stubbornly believes that the abyss has long been asleep, the despicable conspiracy of those false gods succeeded, and the almighty God of truth he believes in got the sweetest piece of fish among them. Human meat pie. How is that possible? Ridiculous lunatic. Yesterday, Buck told me that as long as we offer enough treasures to his gods, we can get rid of all this and go to a paradise where we can continue to gallop on the sea and still let the name of the devil scare the sea. And the god's favorite sacrifice is powerful life. His expression is excited, but his eyes are dead. I only see a poor lackey of the evil god. The king who once sailed the sea has become the most loyal urinal of the evil god. How funny, Buck. Buck did not continue, but I understood what he meant. He wanted to sacrifice the crew of the devil. Sacrifice the most proud achievements of our lives. How dare he? Madman. Just wait. I won't let you destroy the devil, even if it means cutting off your stinky head filled with fish man excrement. Half a month ago, Buck seemed to have regained his senses. Now that there is not much sea area left, the crew proposed to leave the Devil's Sea and find another suitable place to stay. Anyway, the abyss can always accommodate little guys like us, right? Buck no longer mentions his gods, and everything seems to be back on track, except for occasionally showing a weird smile. No one notices this, except me. He agreed to the crew's request and sent 2 fleets to explore the new abyss area, and 50,000 people left just like that. They never came back. At this point in the diary, more and more content is missing. Even the ghost first mate has mental problems. He always writes some crazy and hateful words, cursing the king of the Devil's Sea area in the most vicious language. This after part of the content was converted into props. The translator of Blue Star will could not find an accurate description, and finally had to use asterisks instead. Chu Ran nodded repeatedly, secretly thinking that the ghost first mate was indeed very aggressive. Until the last page. All our companions are dead. Those who followed us from a small boat have become sacrifices to that stupid false god, haha. They did not die under the attack of the Devil King Fish School or in those fierce battles, but died on the devil, in their sleep. Who killed them? Buck. I kill you. The devil's number is mine. You dirty lackey, you don't deserve it. I will kill you. I will kill you. The diary ends here. The ghost mate was completely crazy by the end, and the subsequent development was also obvious. He went to challenge the king of the Devil's Sea, but failed miserably and was imprisoned in an oil lamp for an unknown number of years. Fang Yi pondered for a long time before he could not help but say, well. So, this ghost first mate doesn't want to come to Blue Star, and he even wants to stop the king of the Devil's Sea from sacrificing the evil god. That's probably the case. Anyway, it didn't attack us in the end, maybe it doesn't have the ability to do so. Mu Qingwan nodded and sighed. In fact, it's quite desperate when you think about it carefully. Many abyss creatures were just forced to be sent to Blue Star by the abyss, and their homes were destroyed together, and then they came to destroy our homes. The source of all this is the abyss, but we have no way to deal with it. We can only be forced to defend until the day of complete collapse. Qi Wenxuan heard this and his expression immediately became serious. But the abyss creatures also killed many human races. This is a 200 years of blood feud. Quote, you pity them, who pity those who died. Mu Qingwan was stunned, shook her head and said, I don't pity them, I just think, if there is a way to stop the invasion of the abyss, it would be great. The lives on both sides are miserable, this matter must be solved from the source. Her words made Chu Ran's heart move, and he said lightly, you are only level 30, why do you care about level 270? Those 9-turn legends have not thought of a solution, you should first study your own professional problems. Quote, hey, Mu Qingwan sighed softly and said, then I will go to the Public Security Bureau first, Boss Chu, the dwarf mage, the big guy, see you next time. She waved to the 3 people and left the team. Watching her leave, Qi Wenxuan shook his head and said, the little thief still hasn't been beaten severely, so he is so emotional. Having developed to this day, aren't we living on tenterhooks? No one can say which day the gate to the abyss will open, a horde of beasts will attack the city, or the rumble of the earth will trigger a natural disaster, and one person's death will be a disaster. Those abyss monsters, even if they are forced, are not worthy of pity. They are not our own. After Qi Wenxuan finished speaking, he said directly, next time I see her, I have to educate her well. Fang Yi shrank his neck and said, Brother Zan, what she said is not unreasonable. The abyss is the source of all this. If we cannot solve this root problem, there will never be a way out. Take it one step at a time. Shouldn't we solve it if we can't solve it? Qi Wenxuan raised his hand and grabbed Fang Yi's head, rubbing it hard a few times. You are a mage, so don't let your mind slip. Oh, Fang Yi nodded and sighed silently. Okay, Chu Ran said with a speechless face. She didn't tell you, right? Don't worry about level 270. You two haven't reached level 30 yet. If you are really worried about this, hurry up to level 9 and show off. It's up to you to hold the world together. Hey, that makes sense. Let's wait until I become the god of war. Qi Wenxuan responded, quitting the group, and then said to Fang Yi, Xiao Fang, let's go practice to level 30, and then you can go back and rest. What about the job transfer task? Do you do it yourself? Chu Ran glanced at him. Starting to change jobs at level 30 is also a hurdle. Qi Wenxuan bared his teeth and said, Didn't you hear what the little thief said? The job transfer tasks are based on performance during the period. Fang Yi and I can level up without any difficulty. We can solve it by ourselves. Besides, I can't hug your thighs and get involved in everything. Then aren't we two pure losers? Fang Yi also reacted. Yes, our job transfer task is probably not too difficult. Chu Ran looked at them, nodded and said, Okay, you can figure it out yourself, and Fang Yi, your identity as the young master of the Fang family is probably dusty, so hurry up and use it. If you really encounter any trouble, find a senior professional from the Fang family to go over there and kill those abyss monsters with money. Fang Yi sneered. Don't worry, brother, I will call my family for help if I get into trouble. Well, that's it, let's keep in touch if we need anything. Chu Ran raised his hand and didn't say much. He really should take a day off and show off. He has been rushing too hard during this period, so it's time to slow down. The three of them said goodbye in front of the teleportation array. Chu Ran was not in a hurry to go to the trading house to clean up his harvest. There was endless money to be made, so he went back to his home to rest first. Moreover, he had just seen some interesting content in the Ghostmate's diary and was thinking about it. The Ghostmate's diary said that the conspiracy of the false god of the abyss succeeded, and the abyss fell into a deep sleep. I always feel that this information is very important. The demon god of the abyss, the emperor of the abyss, and now a group of pseudo-gods of the abyss have appeared. In a few days, don't let another incarnation of the abyss appear. No, the incarnation of the abyss, isn't that me? Misunderstanding. Chu Ran was lying on the bed, crossing his legs, and murmured, is the abyss also fighting among themselves? Has it stopped fighting? It's hard to say. After all, even the human race has to fight among themselves, and the abyss can unite as a chicken. The more he thought about it, the more Chu Ran felt that the water was too deep. He is a small messenger of the abyss, so it is difficult to control him. Don't think about it. Open up. The next 3 days. Chu Ran frantically shipped goods. Except for those hard goods that were too high level and of too good quality, he basically dumped everything to Haicheng Trading House. These 3 days were like a Chinese New Year for the people in Haicheng Trading House. Silver, not to mention gold equipment, there are obviously more platinum level equipment. There are also a lot of rare materials and various special items. I almost didn't eat them in the market in Haicheng. There are many people squatting in the trading house every day to watch the excitement. Those sellers are no longer doing business, just want to see what is going on behind the scenes. The big guys stop first, or the rich people yo-yo first. Although it adds up to tens of millions worth of items, and the amount of funds is not large, for Haicheng, there is a limit to the demand for these mid to upper level items. Some people buy them in order to pick up the missing items and make a profit on the price, and some use them for personal use. The market demand for this part will always be saturated. Fortunately, the wealthy people in Haicheng are still strong, mainly because if they don't take action, the neighboring White City and Winterfell will come to join in the fun. After selling these goods, Chu Ran's savings finally approached 9 figures, and he could say that he was a rich man when he went out. Consumption, just consumption. With money in his pocket, Chu Ran waved his hand and began to give back to the Haicheng market. He bought a lot of various consumable props, all of which were very real things, such as manifesting dust, or one-time damage props, most of which were magic. He bought a bunch of more aggressive ones such as one-time fire magic and one-time thunder magic, for no other reason than to take these props just in case if he encounters an enemy outside the abyss. It is safer to blow up your opponent than to kill him yourself. You must cherish your body, and even more, your life. Chu Ran rolled up a bunch of props and walked out of the trading shop with a sigh. As soon as he reached the door, he saw a figure rushing towards him out of the corner of his eye. What to do? Sneak attack, robbery. Chu Ran subconsciously took out the boning knife and prepared to chop him. After a closer look, he found that it was a middle-aged man in a scholar's robe. He grabbed his wrist and said, "Is it Chu Ran?" "No," Chu Ran said seriously, "you've got the wrong person. My name is Shu Jin." The middle-aged scholar laughed. "That's right, I'm looking for Shu Jin." Chu Ran was embarrassed. "Are you playing tricks on me?" He immediately shook the boning knife in his hand and said in a gentle tone, "Brother, I'm mentally ill. Let go quickly. Be careful not to hurt you." "It's okay, you come." The middle-aged scholar smiled and said, "You can't break the defense." So arrogant. Chu Ran widened his eyes. He had never seen such a crazy scholar. He immediately threw a deep gaze at him to see what kind of person he was. Gu Changeling. Profession: A level. Wisdom Patron 8th turn. Level: 266. Chu Ran stared at the middle-aged scholar in front of him, remained silent for a few seconds, and put away the boning knife. "Sorry, I suddenly remembered that something happened at home." "You said the same thing to Zhou Long, right?" "It's okay, I'll go with you." Gu Changeling said with a smile. "I'll go wherever you go today, Shu Jin." "Brother, we have no grievances. Please say something nice and ask for money or something." Chu Ran sighed. He was in trouble today. An 8th level scholar, depending on his level, is still a big boss who may hit the 9th level mission at any time. He has a high gold content and is much more powerful than some A-level combat professions. Because the combat ability of the scholar profession is impressive, it cannot be said that there is no such thing, but it is basically bullshit. Just pick up a B-level combat profession and you can be beaten in the same level range. Most scholars are basically supported by major forces and are used as auxiliary personnel. Educate personnel to cultivate, or switch to the research industry, use skills to learn abyss knowledge and analyze the abyss. As for those scholars who have little potential and no connections, they have to rely on kowtow and hugging their thighs to get through in the early stage of leveling. Therefore, the scholar profession will become popular after reaching around rank 5. There are not a few who start to fail at rank 3. As for 8 switching to this kind of late stage, either his background is so big that it's scary, or he's just the ruthless person of the century who can't be offended. Chu Ran decided to exchange his sincerity for his sincerity, and said in a serious tone, "I am a student, and I don't have much money now. Just tell me the number. If it's similar, I won't bargain. I advise you not to be disrespectful." Gu Changeling was happy, shook his head and said, "What do you mean? I don't want money, I want you. Brother, do you want to listen to what you are saying? Is it human speech?" Chu Ran was startled, took half a step back, and simply said, "Stop teasing me, you are Shu Jin and it's Zhou Long's. Come on, I won't pretend anymore, let's show my cards. I'm the one who killed randomly in Tianmen City, now you find out, what do you think?" Quote, "Young man, please don't be so hostile. You just said that you are a student and a school has recruited you, right?" Gu Changeling smiled and put his hand on Chu Ran's shoulder familiarly. "What school?" Quote, "Wisdom School." Chu Ran didn't lie to such a rank -8 boss who had the ability to find him. The main reason was that it didn't make any sense. He was able to communicate with him. If he wanted to retrieve the school information, it was just a sentence. What about words? It's better to be less cliched and more sincere. Is this a coincidence? Gu Changeling patted the hand on Chu Ran's shoulder twice, and pointed the other hand at himself. "Introduce yourself, Gu Changeling, from the Wisdom School. There is a high probability that you will be me from now on. Now that you are a student, you can call me Teacher Gu, or Lao Gu, as you like." Gu Changeling stared at Chu Ran with a smiling expression, which made Chu Ran's scalp numb. He moved his arm away and sighed. Then I won't be polite. Lao Ji, I have to say a few words to you. This makes no sense. I have been recruited by Wisdom Academy, and you come here to block my door. What do you mean? You want to arrest me? Quote. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Gu Changeling showed a bright smile. I am also preparing for a rainy day. Do you know how many people are looking for you now? If nothing else, there are already quite a few people I have stopped. He counted them one by one with his fingers. I won't mention those from Donghua Academy and Yuqing Academy. The 10 major universities in Long Kingdom sent you, including those 2, I stopped 5. Many people were also beaten by me. Well, I persuaded them to go back a lot. So, I have suffered a lot to be able to stand in front of you now, Shu Jin. Gu Changeling's smile was a bit teasing, especially when he emphasized the word Shu Jin. Chu Ran sighed. Lao Gu, where are you ashamed of me? You have already found out who I am, so there is no need. Chu Ran, I admire your performance in Tianmen City very much. Although it is still a bit immature and has many flaws, your bold and careful style is very suitable for Wisdom School. Gu Changeling launched at Chu Ran. He added the invitation to the communication and continued, I came to see you today. There are 2 things. One is to prevent someone from intercepting your who and abducting you. The other is to contact you in advance to see what kind of character you are. Quote. Chu Ran raised his eyebrows and said with a half smile, What's the matter, Lao Ji? The threshold of your Wisdom School is quite high. Do you want to see if I have antisocial personality? That's not true. Wisdom School can only be regarded as the second echelon of Dragon Kingdom. The talents trained are basically researchers or practitioners in the education field. After all, those who can come to Wisdom School are mostly in auxiliary professions, and those in combat professions the ratio is about 10-1, and the threshold is not high. Gu Changeling looked at Chu Ran with a smile and said in surprise, Your profession is very special, right? Chu Ran glanced at Gu Changeling and said nothing. Special? Can that be called special? I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I tell you. It doesn't matter if you don't say it. I can understand it. In fact, geniuses with special professions like you often have a sense of self-protection and are afraid that they will be too conspicuous and will die before they can develop. After all, there are good people and bad people in this world. Isn't it a new thing in history that there have been many outstanding people who were jealous and deceived? This is human nature, and you received that kind of treatment in Tianmen City. To put it bluntly, it is normal to distrust the higher-ups. When Gu Changeling said this, he was interrupted by Chu Ran. Old Gu, if you are looking for death, don't take me with you. Who doesn't trust the senior management? Don't say such things that are not conducive to unity. I have a complete disdain for the senior management. Trust. You kid. The admissions officers from Donghua Academy and Yuqing Academy are full of praise for you, saying that you are smarter than a monkey when you have hair on it. Gu Changeling shook his head. I don't think you look like a monkey, you are just a little fox. What the God of War Mansion did this time is indeed unreasonable. For the sake of the top abyssal creature that just arrived, they put your lives on the line. Before the creature was killed, it has already been disgraced and humiliated. But there is no way. The God of War's palace has a special status among the 6 houses of the Dragon Kingdom. It is in charge of the professional troops of the Dragon Kingdom. Except for the Pioneer Legion, all professional legions must obey its orders. If others want to take care of it, the God of War's palace can't get rid of it. Throw it away, slap it with a big mouth, who dares to say anything? But the outcome of this matter has been decided. Everyone in the sword-holding department was punished, and the main person responsible was transferred to the front line where the war was intense. He will either stay there for 3 years or die there. As for Shu Lin, the God of War who was responsible for the attack, he will be held accountable. If he doesn't kill that top-level abyss creature, he won't be able to survive. When Chu Ran heard this, he couldn't help but smile. Lao Ji, don't do this with me. I'll hold you accountable afterwards and punish you with 3 drinks. How many years have you been doing this? It's an old routine before the abyss invasion. To put it harshly, son, what happened in Tianmen City has nothing to do with me, and I can't die. It's the new students who will really suffer. The beasts attack the city, and the cult fights with the sword holders. Those newbies will be shattered into pieces if they are involved. Tens of thousands of people are dead, but the god of war and the sword-holding division each fight 50 big guns, lift them up high and put them down gently, and the people can survive. Quote. Don't worry, Gu Changeling said. Of course, these are just the results of the balance of all parties. I said this not to ask you to understand anything, but just to tell you that the War God Palace is the top of the Dragon Country, but it cannot fully represent the top of the Dragon Country. What you see in Tianmen City is not the whole picture. The Law God Association, the Federation of Colleges, the Dragon Country Security Coordination and Supervision Committee, the Abyss Research Institute, and the Future Fire founded 50 years ago, plus the War God Palace, are collectively called the 6 palaces of the Dragon Country. Each has its own duties, and no one can control anyone at ordinary times. You also know that in this era, personal abilities have been magnified countless times. Are there some things that no one cares about? It's just that they are powerless. What's more, none of the 6 palaces can let go of the things they are responsible for. Take the Abyss Research Institute, for example. It is the least noticeable palace, but what is it responsible for? The deciphering is updated every moment. Iterated Abyss knowledge, gathered all the top life professions, auxiliary professions, and developed all kinds of props and items to ensure that we can keep up with the changes in the Abyss. At the same time, we must organize all the information sent back by the pioneers to avoid wasting the efforts of those pioneers, and even keep an eye on the trends of Abyss invasions across the country and even the world, and not neglect it for a second. Quote. They don't have the energy to argue with the God of War Mansion. Among the 6 mansions, only our Academy Association and the God of Law can argue with the God of War Mansion, but they hold the power of the Legion in their hands. When they are willing to pay attention to us, we still have some face, but when they are unwilling to pay attention to us, we can't even pass a word in. Quote. As Gu Changeling said, he stretched out his hand to hug Chu Ran and took him away. After all, standing at the gate of the trading house to talk about these things, it was still a bit eye-catching. Chu Ran opened his hand again and squinted at him. You talked so much to me, but it all comes down to one sentence: everyone has their own difficulties, you have to understand, and you have to endure what you should endure. If that's the case, I suddenly understand why the Abyss sect exists. That's not what I mean. Gu Changeling also looked at Chu Ran. What I want to say is that you can't just look at one side of anything. The God of War Palace can command the Legion not because they have a group of professionals with the title of God of War, but because, at the beginning of the establishment of the God of War Palace, during the most intense period of war, there was once a point where there was no one left to fight. The owner of the palace changed 3 times within a month, and the last one to take the position was a 5th-level life profession, a chef. The status of the God of War Palace was earned through killing and piles of corpses. Now that we have developed, there are not many tragic battles. Maybe it has raised a few idiots, but we can't completely deny its past contributions. However, you are not wrong. The Abyss sect is not all people who deserve to die. Many of them are poor people who can't survive, or they can't stand it. Ordinary people who are desperate collapse and choose to join the Abyss sect, hoping that one day they can be blessed by blood and end this life of fear. Quote. Who has an easy life in this world? After saying this, Gu Changeling patted Chu Ran on the shoulder and changed the subject. A good seedling like you, with your own ideas, the Wisdom Academy is very suitable for your growth. Chu Ran almost sprained his waist because of this turn, and said speechlessly, so after talking for a long time, it's still for enrollment. Lao Gu, you are a little bit not frank. I have been divided. You've been assigned to the Wisdom Academy, so you're just doing this for nothing. It's not reliable to be assigned to the Wisdom Academy. You probably don't know how those top schools found you, right? Gu Changeling smiled and said, after returning from Donghua Academy, they checked the files of Haicheng number 1 middle school and investigated who Xu Jin had a bad relationship with. As a result, they found dozens of people. They started to screen who had caused a big mess when they changed jobs, or who had any abnormal phenomena. They would not let go of any abnormal suspicious points. Chu Ran was shocked when he heard this. This efficiency is equivalent to digging 3 feet into the ground. If he continued to investigate like this, the fake name he casually reported and the little disguise he made was really not good enough. Gu Changeling noticed Chu Ran's expression and said, your disguise is full of loopholes. Donghua Academy can only conduct routine investigations. Yuqing Academy is even more ruthless. They directly watched your photos taken in Tianmen City repeatedly. Even if you masked and changed clothes, and had some counterattack skills to prevent your information from being detected, they could still remember your body proportions and then compare them with the crowd. They found out your appearance in 2 hours. Chu Ran was extremely shocked and thought that these people were really dogs. The passive skill of abyss gaze can only prevent the detection of information, but cannot make oneself a mosaic. It was really a miscalculation. It's better to become a mosaic. Anyway, other families are also using their own methods to find you, but I stopped them all. Gu Changeling smiled proudly. Before you report to the Wisdom Academy, I guarantee that no one will come to harass you. Old Gu, let me ask you a question. Everyone is showing their own magical powers. How did you find me? Chu Ran finally couldn't help asking this question. This 8th-turn scholar, whose occupational name is the patron of wisdom, might have some more special means. Unexpectedly, Gu Changeling shook his head and said, I didn't look for him. You have a friend named Qi Wenxuan, right? Yes. Chu Ran nodded. What does this have to do with Wenxuan? He was first spotted by the Wisdom Academy because he was the one who came up with the idea of gathering the crowd. But this guy refused to take credit and picked you. At that time, people from other academies were trying to figure out how to find you, but only the admissions officer from the Wisdom Academy recognized you at a glance. When he told me about you, I knew about you, didn't I? Gu Changeling said with a smile, so I was faster than them because I didn't have to look for you. If I hadn't been delayed by people from other academies and had negotiated with them in a friendly manner, I would have come to see you that day. Chu Ran was silent for a while, and finally nodded. It's worthy of being the Wisdom Academy. I recognize your wisdom. Oh, they are just a little clever, not really wise. And there is something I need to tell you. Gu Changeling said. You know the god of war who attacked Tianmen City, Shu Lin. Chu Ran was a little numb and said, What's the matter? He wants to find me too. Gu Changeling said. He not only wants to find you, he is in Baicheng now. Fortunately, other schools did not inform him in anger, otherwise, I can't stop him. Chu Ran pondered for a few seconds, analyzed calmly, and finally took a breath. So, there is a god of war hidden in Baicheng now. What are you going to do? If you are so free, why don't we find a class to attend? There is no way. Talents are hard to find. If an S-level hidden profession appears in any city, the 10 universities of the Dragon Kingdom will immediately take notice and snatch the people away. If it is SSS, the 6 palaces will be tempted, especially the God of War. Mansion, Dharma God Association. Gu Changeling looked at Chu Ran. The abilities you exposed in Tianmen City are too strong. You have super-level combat power and impeccable defense. You have mastered flying skills before you have even completed 3 turns. You have at least 3 top-level passives, respectively. It's a quick cooldown of skills, or no CD, an experience improvement bonus, which is at least 8 times the visual estimate, and some kind of heaven-defying passive that restrains the power of the abyss. A 7th-level professional with the Dharma Saint sequence can't even use forbidden skills in front of you. If you can't put it out, what do these add up to? He pointed at Chu Ran. As long as you are trained, you may become the strongest legendary professional. Looking at the 200 years of human race's history of fighting against the abyss, there are no more than 10 people who can compare with you. Chu Ran glanced sideways at Gu Changeling. Old Gu, at your age, stop bragging. There are 10 more who can compete with me. Which 10? Gu Changeling was startled. He didn't expect Chu Ran to react like this. Then he showed a dumbfounded expression. Shouldn't normal people think this is an exaggeration? Looking at the entire 200-year resistance history of the human race, there are definitely not a few outstanding geniuses. When the time span is extended to 200 years, SSS-level hidden professions are everywhere. In this case, only 10 people can compare with you. Are you quite dissatisfied? It is a good thing for young people to have confidence. Geniuses should have this kind of energy. Being timid is a waste of talent. Gu Changeling pondered for a long time, tried his best to consider his tone, and said, however, while being confident, you must also remain humble. Don't become blindly arrogant, otherwise you will easily go astray. The human race has produced many top geniuses over the years, and they have now become the mainstay of the human race. Chu Ran, your profession is very strong and you are smart. Compared with those geniuses, it's only a little bit behind in comparison. Yu Changeling had already entered the state of a teacher. After a few words of earnest advice, he asked, "What level are you at now?" He had repeatedly seen Chu Ran's photos in Tianmen City, and even though he asked this question, he already knew it in his heart. It becomes more difficult to improve the level as you go up. There is a threshold every 10 levels. Even if there is an experience multiplier bonus and the efficiency is greatly improved, it is by no means a simple and quick success. Therefore, Yu Changeling calculated that Chu Ran was probably around level 58 to 60. I'm 60, and I'm stuck on the second mission. Chu Ran's answer did not surprise him. Hearing that he was stuck on the second transfer mission, Yu Changeling laughed and said, "Based on your performance in the current range, the difficulty of the job transfer mission will not be low. What's the trouble? Tell me. You will be my student from now on, there is no need to be polite to me." There is still some weight in what an 8th level scholar said. Chu Ran thought about it for a while, and found that his job transfer mission was in a large secret realm. He studied the identity emblem of the 9th Legion for a few days and roughly figured out how to use it, but he didn't dare to try it. To put it bluntly, there are only 10 large-scale secret realms in the world, and he is holding the key to the 11th large-scale secret realm in his hand. If he opens the door casually, God knows what trouble will happen. Why not ask him? There is a ready-made boss in front of you, no questions asked. What? I'm fine, it's just that a friend of mine is in trouble. Chu Ran took the initiative to put his arms around Yu Changeling's shoulders and said with a smile, "Lao Yu, don't think too much, he is really my friend." Well, what trouble did your friend get into? Yu Changeling also smiled, emphasizing the word friend. The two of them looked at each other and smiled, seeing through it without saying anything. Chu Ran cleared her throat and said, "My friend has a mission to do, but it involves a secret realm, whether it's a big deal or a small matter." Secret realm. Yu Changeling's brows relaxed and he breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Chu Ran's task was too difficult and he wouldn't be able to protect it. But as soon as he heard that it was a secret realm, he basically knew it. As long as it was not a secret realm that would become the entrance to an abyss, he, a rank 8 professional, would basically be able to cross it. What's more, he, a scholar, was a million ways different from other scholars. The difference is that his fighting ability is fascinating. Can you single-handedly stop people from top universities and make them give up a gifted genius, relying on friendly negotiation? Whoever believes it is an idiot. What secret realm? Tell me, I can help you with this little thing. Yu Changeling was convinced, and then smiled. "Oh, no, I'm doing it for your friend." Chu Ran rolled his eyes and took out the coat of arms without hiding it. "That's it. See what you do." "Well, let me take a look." The moment Yu Changeling took the coat of arms, his expression changed. Scarlet coat of arms. The 9th Legion of the Abyss. He became serious, raised his hand to his temple, and with a flash of light, a monocle appeared between his fingers. He squinted at it for a few seconds and murmured, "It's unmistakable, it is indeed the scarlet coat of arms." Yu Changeling raised his head and looked at Chu Ran, and said in a dry tone, "Do you have the certificate to open the large secret realm?" "Yes, a large secret realm," Chu Ran said, "and it is a large secret realm that has not yet been discovered. If it is a small secret realm, I can just go in and chop it with a knife. What is there to worry about?" Yu Changeling swallowed quietly. He really didn't expect this scene. Isn't Blue Star's will too cruel? Arrange a large secret realm in the second turn. Is this to train a genius or to kill him? In order to maintain the teacher's dignity, Yu Changeling had to keep his expression steady and said, "As for the large secret realm, it is indeed a bit troublesome. You'd better not open the door here, because this mechanism of hiding the secret realm will be closed once the door is opened. The entrance will be left in place and fixed in Haicheng, thus becoming a permanent secret realm that can be entered repeatedly." Quote. Yu Changeling thought for a while. The best way is to go to Wisdom Academy. Are you in a hurry? If not, I will help you arrange this when you officially report. So there is such a thing about opening the secret realm. Then leaving the entrance to the secret realm in Haicheng will help Haicheng generate income. Chu Ran thought it didn't matter. It made a difference where the entrance to the secret realm was left. He used it to open the door of the Wisdom Academy. It can't take that long. I'm stuck at the second rank threshold and can't even upgrade. Is this a month's delay? Isn't that a mistake of several 100 million? Of course it's as fast as possible. Unexpectedly, Gu Changeling shook his head and said seriously, it is not a good thing for a large secret realm to suddenly appear in a small place like Haicheng. You should know the mechanism of secret realm certificates, which are produced regularly from the cracks. In other words, all stable secret realm entrances are a steady stream of benefits, and those vouchers flow to various places, creating a lot of revenue every year. Quote, a large secret realm, you really want Haicheng to die. Chu Ran understood. It was all about money anyway, so this cheap Haicheng is not qualified to eat, and can only be given to the Wisdom Institute. Lao Ji, you are thinking too beautifully. Gu Changeling sighed, returned the scarlet coat of arms to Chu Ran, and said, it doesn't have to be a wisdom school. The main thing is that this thing is too hot. If you throw it to Haicheng, it is like putting Haicheng on the fire. Quote, although this metaphor may not be appropriate, if you see a poor homeless man on the road and feel pity for him, you are helping him once by treating him to a full meal. Giving him a few thousand blue star coins is a way of helping him. After helping him for a while, what if you give him 100 million blue star coins? That's what's killing him. Gu Changeling said. There are now 10 large secret realms distributed all over the world, and the Dragon Kingdom accounts for 2. This kind of place that can train tens of thousands of professionals at a time without considering the mortality rate, who wouldn't be a treasure. The Dragon Kingdom there are too many overt and covert conflicts involved in these 2 large secret realms. Even if the Blue Star countries agree to let them go in the spirit of human coexistence, what about the Abyss sect, are they willing to agree? Quote, such a thing happened in the Eagle Kingdom. Because a high-level secret realm was opened in a small town, the Abyss sect was invited the next day to massacre the city and exterminate the entire population. More than 200,000 people died. Gu Changeling's voice gradually became heavier. There are too many similar things. I don't need to give examples one by one. I believe you will understand. A large secret realm is like a hot potato. It has benefits, but if you can't catch it and can't afford it, it will be easy. Causing disaster. Understood. Anyway, we have to find someone with good physique to take over this big pot. Haicheng is not qualified and can't take it up. He just throws it away and kills it. Chu Ran nodded. Then we will open the door at the Wisdom School, but 1 month is too long. I am in a hurry to change jobs. I am stuck in the second job and cannot upgrade. It is too late. Gu Changeling pondered. Have you studied this secret realm? How many people can it accommodate? 100,000, Chu Ran said, at least 100,000, maybe more. How many? Gu Changeling was stunned. 100,000. What kind of secret realm are you talking about? Chu Ran asked strangely. 100,000 is a lot. This is the secret realm of the Abyss Emperor, the 9th Legion. Didn't you just watch it? Lao Ji, can you do it? Why do I think you haven't seen much of the world? Abyss Emperor, Scarlet Queen. By the way, the 9th Legion is the Scarlet Queen's force. This secret realm captures the afterimage of the Queen. Then this may be a super large war secret realm. Starting with 100,000 people. Gu Changeling, I felt that all the hairs on my body stood up. I held Chu Ran's arms with both hands and said excitedly, you kid, if this is true, you will have made a great contribution. Ah, Chu Ran immediately became vigilant. I told you in advance that I am a timid person. Don't say anything to me about surrendering to the country. When I am scared, I will easily run around and run away somewhere. No, you are the one who discovered the secret realm, and you enjoy the profit share. Gu Changeling seemed to be communicating with someone, and said with 2 minds, don't worry, you are from the Wisdom Institute, and you are my student. Whoever dares to reach out will do it. Come on, 1 will do 1, 2 will do 2. With this secret realm, even if you want to slap Shulin will have to ask if your hand hurts. Super large war secret realm. The God of War mansion will go crazy after hearing this. If they dare to show off to you again, close the door and block entry to the God of War's mansion. Just wait and see if they kowtow or not. After Gu Changeling explained, he said to Chu Ran, without further delay, let's go to the Wisdom Academy with me now. Now, Lao Ji, I am indeed in a hurry, but I am not in such a hurry. Chu Ran was startled and said quickly, should we stop making preparations? However, Ji Changeling's eyes were a little red. What are you preparing for? Let's form a team. I will take you to kill the secret realm, and complete the job transfer mission before we talk about anything else. Isn't this bad? Chu Ran said. It's not that I don't believe you, it's just that I haven't opened my eyes like this. You, a scholar, led me to kill a large secret realm. There is a queen there. Ji Changeling didn't say a word. After sending the communication, he held Chu Ran's shoulders. Let's go. No, where are you going? The Wisdom Academy is in the imperial capital. There is no teleportation array that far away in Haicheng. Chu Ran had just finished speaking. Ji Changeling put his two fingers together and drew a line in front of him. A scar was cut on the spot, revealing a colorful and constantly rotating void passage. He laughed. What kind of teleportation array is used? Who in the 8th rank will use the teleportation array? Chu Ran stared at the void passage and shook his head like a rattle. You belong to a black car, I won't go. Don't worry, I'm an experienced driver now. Ji Changeling grabbed Chu Ran and took a step forward. There was a flash of light and the two people disappeared instantly. Chu Ran felt his eyes blur, and an indescribable dizziness filled his brain. Even with such a high attribute, he felt a little uncomfortable. If we were talking about interprovincial teleportation, it seemed like there were a few people chattering in his ears, which made him a little irritated. This method of transmission is like someone hitting the back of the head with a stick. It's either very painful or very unpleasant. A few seconds later, the scene in front of Chu Ran changed and turned into a long and spacious outdoor corridor. He turned to look to the side and saw a large and spacious grassland, just like that kind of golf course, but there was no slope, and occasionally there were a few small harmless abyssal creatures ran past, and professionals were flying in the sky from time to time. Farther away, several buildings of various shapes can be vaguely seen. The tallest one is a tower with a huge circular platform on top. Many professionals are flying over there. Before Chu Ran can take a closer look, Ji Changeling said, this will be your school in the future. There will be plenty of opportunities to see it. Let's get down to business first. He grabbed Chu Ran's wrist and rushed forward. After walking a few steps, several professionals dressed in different styles came over, young and old, and basically wore scholars' robes. Only one old man wore simple leather armor and held a strange-shaped hammer in his hand. Is he the genius? One of the middle-aged men in scholars' robes rushed over, excitedly wanting to shake hands with Chu Ran. Welcome, welcome to our Wisdom Academy. The look was so hot that Chu Ran's scalp was numb. Before he could say anything, Ji Changeling slapped the other's hand away and said with a stern face, don't try to get close to me first, have you arranged it? It's arranged, the old man in leather armor answered. However, if it is really a super large war secret realm, it may not be covered by the formation alone. Ji Changeling said lightly, if it can be covered for a while, it's for a while. If it can't be covered, we'll talk about it later. At worst, we'll fight them, whoever comes to fight will do it. Chapter 91. The old man in leather armor holding the hammer was speechless. Old Ji, we are a school of wisdom, not a school of war, nor a school of sword and shield. If those people are really shameless and come to the door, are you going to bring in a group of assistants? Do you want to work with them in your career or life? You are good at everything, but you need to change your bragging habit. Ji Changeling's face sank, and he glared at the old man, mainly because he felt that he had lost his dignity as a teacher in front of Chu Ran. He cleared his throat slightly and said, Old Han, how many times have I told you that in formal occasions, you need to be called by your professional title? Quote. Don't worry about Lao Ji, do you have any priorities? Go and arrange the formation first. If someone really comes to pick the fruit, I will do it myself. Don't you worry. After Ji Changeling finished speaking, he turned to Chu Ran and introduced Han Xingye, the director of the Professional Equipment Research Institute, a rich man from our smart school. If you have any questions about equipment, you can contact him. Han Xingye, who looked very young, smiled at Chu Ran with a very kind attitude. Yes, you can come to me if you have any equipment problems. What I am best at is defense system research. Although your defense ability is very good. Strong, but not strong enough. Later, I will get you some defensive equipment and some practical props to improve your life-saving ability. Hearing this, Chu Ran shook off Gu Changeling and said, Teacher Han, you may not believe it. When I saw you just now, I felt friendly and close to you. It turns out that it's because you are the only one who has seen through my fragility. My ability to save my life is really poor, and I live in fear every day. To be honest, sometimes I am really afraid that after today, there will be no tomorrow, for fear that one day I will die in the corner of the leveling area. These days, so sad. Chu Ran sighed, showing a tired expression that was weathered and overwhelmed. Han Xingye was startled for a moment, then smiled and said, Don't worry, I will definitely give you the best. Then I would like to thank Teacher Han in advance. Chu Ran grabbed Han Xingye's free hand and shook it twice. There is no mistake in having a teacher like you in the wisdom school, but students dare to ask, Teacher Han, how big is the wealthy man? I have no other intention, I just want to broaden my horizons. Ha! Han Xingye also held Chu Ran's hand, dumbfounded and said, Xiao Chu, don't worry about the money in my pocket, right? Chu Ran waved his hand. No, I just admire you as a person. Besides, why do we, teachers and students, care about each other? Don't talk about money or not, it's all about the teacher's love for the students. What do you think? Think about it, do you need resources to cultivate a genius? Do you need to spend money? I am still in the rising stage. Rounding it off, I am in a state of desperate need. 1 billion is not too much, and 700 or 800 million is not too little. It's my intention. Han Xingye became numb and looked at Gu Changeling for help. That old Gu. Gu Changeling said with a straight face, Huh. Han Xingye immediately changed his mind. Palace Master Gu, should we get down to business? Before Gu Changeling could speak, Chu Ran immediately turned his head and said in surprise, Old Gu, so you are the master of the palace. He immediately left Han Xingye behind. He moved so quickly that Han Xingye, a professional with at least rank 7, didn't even react. He stood there in a daze. Have I fallen out of favor? Chu Ran put his arms around Gu Changeling's shoulders. Old Gu, why didn't you tell me earlier that you were the master of the palace? Isn't this a misunderstanding? I am the direct disciple of the master of the palace. Then we must not establish an inheritance system in the future, etc. If you die, will the school be under my control? Gu Changeling opened his hand and said calmly, The deputy. The deputy, it's okay. The deputy is also the master of the palace. Chu Ran put his arm on Gu Changeling's shoulder again. Gu Changeling finally realized that this guy has no shame, so he simply said to the professionals who were watching the show with smiles, Why are you standing there in a daze? Hurry up and get to work. Han Xingye took the lead and fled after hearing this. Other academic professionals wearing scholar robes also left. Gu Changeling opened Chu Ran's arm and said with a half smile, You were really good at hugging thighs. Weren't you very good in Tianmen City? Chasing the death mage and cutting down several streets, even the Yao Light Sword Master lost face. Even if you don't give it, why do you think she doesn't have enough cards? Then God of War Shu Lin has enough, why don't you hug me? That's different. Chu Ran smiled. No matter how awesome the God of War is, he will do whatever the God of War tells him to do. Isn't the Swordman awesome? One of the top professional troops in the Dragon Kingdom, know they have to listen to the God of War's words and do evil things without conscience. I don't believe that they are not dissatisfied. But when you come out to hang out, you have to talk about background and power. There is a boss standing above you. No matter how awesome you are just a loser. Quote. You are a master of the palace. You can definitely speak well in this 3-acre area of Wisdom Academy, right? Chu Ran analyzed it for a while, and it was reasonable and well-founded. Gu Changeling was also happy and said, You are right. In Wisdom Academy, I, the Deputy Palace Master, am no different from the real Palace Master. If he is not here, I have the final say. That's all right, I still have a future with you. Chu Ran clapped his hands. And don't worry, when I grow up, our master and apprentice will directly ignore the master of the palace, and then we will have the power of the wisdom school in our hands. Concentrate resources to do big things, and ensure that your name, Lao Ji can also leave a mark in the history of the human race. Quote, Ji changeling held Chu Ran down, looked around, and whispered, "Can you be honest for a moment? Do you dare to say anything? The master of the palace, that old man likes to eavesdrop on students' opinions. Be careful what you say in the school, be careful not to get caught by him." Quote, "Let's go, open the door first, and figure out your job transfer first." After saying that, Ji changeling stepped forward. Chu Ran felt a little creepy. It turned out that the people in the Wisdom Academy were either reckless or old silver coins. A deputy master only knew how to chop, chop, and kill, and the main master eavesdropped on students all day. It was a bit abnormal. Standing there and thinking for a while, Chu Ran clasped his hands together with a snap, bowed to the surroundings, and muttered, "Young people are ignorant, don't blame them if they are weird, don't blame them if they are weird. Are you here to summon the soul?" Ji changeling looked back and saw this scene, and almost fainted. "He is alive, and he will come out and chop you up in a while." The place to open the door was chosen in an empty space. Several professionals were busy arranging the formation, carving the formation diagram, and placing some rare materials that Chu Ran had never seen before as a medium. It didn't look like a simple formation. "Take out the scarlet emblem." Ji changeling checked it and said to Chu Ran after confirming that there was no problem. Chu Ran nodded, became serious, and took out the emblem. The professionals of the Wisdom Academy at the scene were also a little nervous. This thing might be the key to the door of the super-large war secret realm. God knows what kind of noise it will cause. "Activate the formation," Han Xingye whispered. The professional in charge of controlling the formation immediately activated the formation. The sky above his head suddenly lit up with complex golden patterns, which were outlined together and slowly turned into a hemispherical protective shield, covering the entire open space. The next second, the shield disappeared. In other words, the formation and the people inside disappeared together. There is no feeling of teleportation into the secret realm. Chu Ran stepped into the blood-colored void passage, and when his steps fell, the soles of his feet felt soft and wet. The scene in front of him started from a tiny point of light and hit him at an unimaginable speed. The next second, the surrounding environment changed suddenly. Chu Ran sniffed and smelled a burnt, fishy smell. The air was thick and hot, making people feel very uncomfortable. Boom! A loud noise attracted Chu Ran's attention. Chu Ran raised his head and looked. Looking ahead, there was a large pile of corpses. Among them were monsters like hills, many humanoid creatures, and more of them were creatures with obvious characteristics of the abyss. I don't know how far away, there is even a huge flying dragon with black flames all over its body, fighting with a group of monsters that look like oversized bats. The number of monsters was so great that it covered the sky and the sun. The flying dragons spit out black flames. Monster corpses fell like rain, briefly revealing the blood-red sky. Chu Ran had never seen such a big scene before. Just when I was wondering whether I should go through the process and study the mechanism of the secret realm first, or rush over and join in the fun, a few pieces of information suddenly slipped in front of my eyes. Discover the secret realm. Ascension to the battlefield. Difficulty. The tentacles of the false gods have penetrated into every corner of the abyss, and the majesty of the Scarlet Queen is just a joke to them. However, as the Emperor of the Abyss, the Scarlet Queen will never allow the dirty footsteps of the false god to enter this place. Scarlet Queen. The despicable ones want war, then give them a war. Ji changeling didn't know what trouble he had encountered, and he didn't even have time to talk. After he said this, a series of explosions were heard over there, and he cut off the team's communication. Chu Ran sighed. "You said you would lead me to kill through the secret realm, but now you're gone. Old Ji, I will advise you to stop bragging after we get out. You're old and you don't care about your face anymore." After saying that, Chu Ran stood up with the shoulder armor of the unicorn giant, pressed his head and looked forward. This battle line is very long, almost endless, with corpses everywhere, thick black smoke rising from everywhere, and various giant creatures occasionally flying in the sky, as if they were rushing to support. Looking at this virtue, the 9th Legion of the Abyss is almost defeated. Chu Ran just took a look and had a general idea of the situation. The Scarlet Queen is very strong. Her original body left a very terrifying legend on Blue Star. However, the false god of the abyss dared to call himself a god, so it is estimated that she is not much different. Moreover, the queen is fighting 3 alone. No matter her individual strength or military strength, she is at a disadvantage. At present, it seems that she is struggling to hold on. The main task of the secret realm is to end the war. Chu Ran narrowed his eyes, pulled the giant's hair like steel needles, and murmured, "There are many ways to end the war. Help one side win, or kill the leader of one side, which are all ways to end the war. Or, just kill both sides. It seems a bit exaggerated. Think about it again." Chu Ran shook his head and was thinking about it. A red and black wall appeared in his vision. There was no gap on the surface. It was like it had been polished. It extended upward in a slope. It was about 100 meters high. Many figures stood on the platform at the edge and looked at the side. As soon as they saw this defeated army, a faint humming sound came from the top of the city wall. I don't know what was blown, but the sound was far away and a bit harsh. The unicorn giant breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's safe. Those despicable followers of the false god didn't chase us. They are a bunch of trash. They don't dare to get close to the base camp where the queen is." Chu Ran's heart moved and he looked at the city wall. "Is the queen here?" "Well, of course, where else can the queen go if she doesn't sit here?" The unicorn giant slowed down his pace and was a little surprised to hear this question. He looked at Chu Ran with a squint. "I just wanted to ask, who are you? It seems a bit late for you to think of this question now." Chu Ran was also moved by his reaction arc. "You don't look like a soldier of the queen." The unicorn giant became alert. "The queen's soldiers don't look weird like you. You look a bit like a fishman. A newly evolved advanced fishman. Brother, since you gave me a ride, I won't argue with you." Chu Ran sighed. "If you meet a creature like me in the future, be careful when you speak, but it doesn't matter. If you meet someone else again, he will probably chop you directly." The unicorn giant looked confused and didn't understand what Chu Ran was saying, but he still shook his head. "Forget it, now is the time to use people, and fishmen like you can also be useful. Come with me to see the commander-in-chief later." "No, to be honest, I came." Chu Ran wanted to say that he came to assassinate the queen. The seamless wall in front of him opened a passage of more than 10 meters. A cavalry rushed over. The mounts of these cavalrymen are bird-headed monsters with extremely strong limbs and a huge body, about 7 or 8 meters long and 3 meters high. There is a tuft of golden feathers near the shoulder blades, and the tail is covered with barbs, which looks extremely aggressive. The leader was a purple-haired abyss creature wearing a half-mask and fully armed. He was at least 3 meters tall, with pale skin and no blood. He drove the monster under him to stop in front of the unicorn giant and made a voice whose gender was difficult to distinguish. "Only you are back. Where is the dragon rider?" "Grand Commander." The unicorn giant's eyes turned red. The dragon rider was ambushed by the false god. After his death, the abyss dragon was also killed by the false god's trap. The queen will not be satisfied with this result. The purple-haired abyss creature said lightly. "The 9th Legion started a war on 3 fronts, and only this side needs the queen to sit in person. It means that our strength makes the queen uneasy." "What does this mean?" The unicorn giant lowered his head and said ashamedly, "It's a shame, Commander. Since you know it's a shame, remember it until you die for the queen." After saying this, the purple-haired abyss creature turned his eyes and looked at Chu Ran standing on the shoulder of the unicorn giant. Because the creature under the seat was not short, and the height of the purple-haired abyss creature itself was basically a little taller than the unicorn giant, but Chu Ran was standing now, so the purple-haired abyss creature could only raise its head and look at him. Chu Ran. Operator. The purple-haired abyss creature opened its mouth, as if it wanted to say something. Chu Ran stared at the abyss creature and found that no information popped up. Knowing that the other party's level was very high, he directly cast an abyss gaze over. The commander-in-chief of the Bloody Cavalry Battalion of the 9th Legion. Level 199. Race Blood Clan. This, level 199. Chu Ran showed a surprised expression. "Who is he?" The purple-haired abyss creature also asked the unicorn giant. He took off half of his face mask, revealing a cold and pretty face, except that the eyes were blood red and the body was too tall. It seemed to be no different from the human race. No, the biggest difference is the teeth. When she spoke, two pointed canines were exposed. Vampire. Vampire. Chu Ran understood the meaning of this race, and the co-authors were old acquaintances. He knows a lot about vampires. Afraid of light, silver, and garlic. I don't know if the vampires in the abyss have these weaknesses. If they do, they should be easy to deal with. Well, Commander-in-Chief, this guy looks like one of those thin fish men, less than 2 meters tall. I guess he is a high-level fish man, right? The unicorn scratched his head. He didn't understand who Chu Ran was. He just saw it on the battlefield and thought it was one of his own, so he picked it up and took it away. After all, the costumes and characteristics of those false god believers are very obvious. Chu Ran seems to have nothing to do with them, and there are warriors from all races in the Queen's Legion. Who knows which race they are from? The purple-haired commander was silent for a few seconds, and then glanced at Chu Ran. She always felt that there was something about this thin male creature that made her afraid. However, the war was tense, so she didn't think much about it. She waved her hand and said, "Let's go and rest first. We'll talk about other things after the battle on the front line is over." She directly urged her mounts and left with a group of cavalry. After she left, Chu Ran shook his head and said, "The attack has almost reached the gate, so why should we not be on the front line?" "What's the word?" The one-horned giant heard this very clearly, and immediately said, "Look, those followers of the false god don't dare to approach this barracks, which shows that they don't even have the courage to face the queen directly. Let's wait and see when they can really get to the door." Quote. Chu Ran was shocked by the unicorn's optimism. He pulled his hair twice and praised, "If only you could speak, a small loss equals a profit, a big loss equals no loss." Fortunately, it didn't happen. You have an advantage. If you really have an advantage, why don't you open the champagne? What weird thing are you saying? The unicorn giant didn't understand at all and shook his head, "Don't pull me." Chu Ran took his hand away, sat on his shoulder armor, and said, "Brother, since you have brought me here, why don't you do your best and send me directly to see the queen? Meet the queen, just you." The unicorn giant was directing the group of defeated soldiers to enter the city. When he heard Chu Ran's words, 2 streams of hot air came out of his nose, and he turned around and said happily, "You really dare to think about your identity, queen? What status? To be honest, telling you my identity might scare you to death." Chu Ran showed a look of disdain and shook his head, "But I am a low-key person and generally don't want to show off." "What? Which fish-man tribe are you the leader of?" The unicorn giant chuckled, loudly like thunder, "Then you have made the wrong idea. The warriors under the queen's command are all elites at worst. If you go to a small tribe, you can just hang out with the clan leader. When the little ones are on the battlefield, don't take your previous identity seriously, especially don't use your identity to pick out the strong and disdain the weak. Take a look." After speaking, the unicorn giant gave an admonishment, and then took Chu Ran to the city wall passage. "Although I don't know what's going on with you, but now we are at war with the 3 major religious groups and are in urgent need of soldiers. I will arrange it for you later. Captain, do you dare to go into battle and kill the enemy? If you want to see the queen, kill a few more followers of the false god to gain some credit, and maybe you can get a glimpse of her from a distance later." Chu Ran originally wanted to take out the boning knife and slightly correct the unicorn's attitude towards him, but when he heard this, he suddenly became interested. "What do you mean, the queen will hold a swearing-in ceremony in person?" "The swearing-in meeting." The unicorn giant pondered for a moment and nodded, "Absolutely. The queen will occasionally distribute her blood to the warriors to enhance everyone's strength. This can be regarded as a unique blessing to our 9th Legion." He showed a proud expression and said, "I tell you, among the Abyss Emperors, the only one who is willing to share his power with the warriors is our queen. But no matter how good the treatment is, it still depends on personal strength. You work hard, make more meritorious deeds, and kill more enemies. If I save you this time, you won't be so lucky next time." While talking, the unicorn giant had already entered the big city with Chu Ran. Although according to the unicorn giant, this big city is just a barracks, after passing through the hundreds of meters of city walls, a wide street appeared in front of you. There were actually various abyssal races activities in it, and there were even many styles. A strange shop selling things that Chu Ran had never seen before. It is very lifelike, creating a strong sense of separation from the war-torn atmosphere outside. There is no worry about war on the faces of these intelligent creatures, as if everything is business as usual. The one-horned giant seemed to still have some reputation. He walked forward among the soldiers. Occasionally, some intelligent abyss creatures would greet him with a warm attitude. He also responded one by one, explaining to Chu Ran, by the way, they are all Aboriginal people in the city, and they are also the Queen's people. Chu Ran nodded, said nothing, and looked forward. The street extends all the way up, and the buildings on both sides are scattered in an orderly manner. You can occasionally see some relatively tall buildings in the distance, about 17 or 18 floors. Continuing to look forward, Chu Ran discovered that at the end of his field of vision, there was a prismatic tower about 30 stories high standing, with very regular red lines painted on it. Those lines were bright and dark at times, exuding blood. Light is like the rhythm of breathing. This special building caught Chu Ran's attention. That's the Queen's palace. Sensing Chu Ran's gaze, the unicorn explained, it's because the Queen's palace is here, so everyone should eat and drink. With the Queen here, there is nothing to be afraid of. Chu Ran's heart moved and she said, so the Queen treats you well. When the unicorn giant heard this, he immediately looked at Chu Ran as if he were a fool. You little fish man is really interesting to talk about. He grinned and said, if in your tribe, the leader is harsh on you, beats and scolds you, and rules you with fear, how can you still love him? Will the soldiers always serve him willingly? Chu Ran said without hesitation, that's definitely not the case. If you follow a boss like this, you'll be hungry for 9 meals in 3 days. That's right. The one-horned giant smiled and said, although 80% of the creatures in the abyss are fighting each other, that is the instinct of the abyss creatures. It is a kind of selective evolution. After wisdom has truly evolved, many abyss creatures will want to live a better life. Comfortable days. After speaking, the unicorn giant stretched out his finger and touched Chu Ran's shoulder. You don't even know how the Queen treats her people. Then you are not a creature of this abyss, right? Now that you're here, let's have a good feel for it. The welfare benefits in our blood abyss territory are quite good. After this battle, you will find a place to settle down and you will know whether I have exaggerated. After chatting for a long time, a group of defeated soldiers finally arrived at the barracks. An abyss creature with blood-red skin and spikes on its head came out and walked directly to the unicorn giant. Bo Tu, I heard that you were taught a bad lesson. I have long said that you are not suitable to be a commander. Letting you take the position is completely a discredit to the Queen. It's a pity that the commander-in-chief trusts you, a fool. After he finished speaking dissatisfiedly, his green eyes turned and he found Chu Ran sitting on his shoulder. He frowned and said, what is this weak creature? The unicorn giant named Bo Tu hummed, this is the warrior I found. Go away and don't block the way. The spiked head hugged his arms, and there was a black tail as thick as a thumb behind him, swinging back and forth. He sneered, has your team fallen to this extent? Are you going to let the little thing serve as rations for those fearless demons? No, I'm just sitting here to rest my feet. Why do you have to talk to me when everyone comes? Chu Ran sighed and jumped directly from the unicorn giant's shoulder. As a result, he found it embarrassing. He was not as tall as this spiked head, so he had to look up at him. Lower your head a little. Chu Ran waved at him. The 3-meter-tall spiked head didn't expect this little thing to dare to talk to him, and seemed to find it very interesting, so he lowered his head slightly, showing a mouthful of sharp teeth, grinning, what do you want to say? Seeing that the distance was about right, Chu Ran raised his hand and slapped him with a big slap. You can't talk without your father, right? Get down. This big bag is not an ordinary big bag, it is a big bag that comes with the royal power of the abyss. No matter how high your level is, how strong your attributes are, or where you are outside, it doesn't matter where you are outside. As long as you are still an abyss creature and weaken the equality of all living beings in front of you, you have to open your mouth and eat this big dick. When Chu Ran slapped him, he didn't even bother to look at the level of the spiked head. He would scream in pain no matter what level he slashed with the attribute. There was a snap. The spiked head was whipped so hard that his body tilted and he lay on the ground stunned. Bo Tu was also stunned. The abyss soldiers who had drooped faces were also stunned. The spiked head is a creature with a title from a high-ranking elite. Although he is not the best in the barracks, he is still a low-level cadre who is relatively capable of fighting. How did he fall down after taking one bite? That's it, that's it. Chu Ran sighed and rushed forward to punch and kick Spikehead. Spikehead wanted to resist at first, but he pulled Chu Ran weakly for a few times. He found that he was almost collapsed, and his expression gradually became frightened, and Chu Ran the fists and feet that fell on him became more and more painful, and he finally couldn't help but let out a few groans of pain. Chu Ran felt that it was not too satisfying, so she directly grabbed the spikes on his head and lifted it into a big bag. Aren't you being mean-spirited? The eyes on the spiked head are all green. Although they were originally green, they now want to spit out green fire. Just wait for me, I will fight you to the death. Fight to the death, fight to the death. Chu Ran pulled two more big dicks at him, grabbing the spikes on his head and shaking them wildly. Do you accept it? Not convinced. The spiked head raised his weak hand and pulled Chu Ran. Chu Ran sneered, and banged the nostrils of the spiked head with two punches, causing blood to flow out. Light blue blood spurted out crazily. I'll ask you one last time, do you accept it? Beat me to death. Beat me to death if you can. The spiked head strangled his neck, showing an expression that was not afraid of death. Okay, he's a tough guy, I'll help you. Chu Ran took out the boning knife and chopped off a spike on his head with one click. The spiked head screamed in pain and struggled violently. Your father will give you a haircut today. Chu Ran clattered and chopped off most of the black spikes on his head. Spike's head was almost in pain, and he screamed wildly. The defeated soldiers around looked at Chu Ran as if they were looking at the devil. Where did this abyss devil come from? After being stabbed countless times, the spiked head finally surrendered and said, "Stop cutting me, I'm done with it, I'm done with it." But Chu Ran had already succeeded in cutting it, and sneered, "Are you tough enough? Give me a knife." "No, I said I'm convinced. Spiked head is going crazy." Botu finally couldn't stand it anymore. He pressed Chu Ran's shoulder with a finger and said cautiously, he said he was convinced. He gave up. Chu Ran frowned and looked down at the spiked head. Are you really convinced? The spiked head covered his head, and hot tears fell from his green eyes. I'm convinced. Okay, I'm in a good mood today. You took it out and saved your life. Chu Ran put away the boning knife and glanced at his bumpy head. From now on, you will be called Leaphead. If you dare to pretend to be B again, you have to change your name to No Brainer. The spiked head forced out a smile that was uglier than crying, and did not dare to say anything. Forget it, that little, Fishman King. Don't be familiar with him, he is just jealous that I can go to the front line to help the queen. Botu looked at Chu Ran, who had moved his muscles a lot, and did not dare to shout anymore. The little Murloc is now called the Murloc King. Chu Ran waved his hand and said, Brother, I have always been clear about grudges. You don't have to be afraid. I won't do anything to you, and it won't do any good. This is not a lie. I am mainly here for the second mission, and the ground is full of intelligent creatures. It is a rare opportunity. It is more useful to find out more information about the abyss than to rush in and kill. Botu was dubious and hesitated for a few seconds. He wanted to put Chu Ran on his shoulders again, but Chu Ran refused. Okay, I'll take a stroll by myself. Okay. Botu nodded and said, then I will take you to get an identity certificate and a scarlet coat of arms first. However, it is a bit unfair for you to be a team leader with your strength. When the commander comes back, I will ask for instructions. How about promoting you to battalion commander? Whatever. By the way, when will the queen reward the 3 armies? Chu Ran followed Botu to the barracks, and while looking around, he asked casually. Upon hearing this, Botu sighed inconspicuously and said, there are only 2 possibilities for the queen's appearance. One is that we win and the false god religion retreats, or the front line collapses and the victory or defeat is transferred to the emperor-level battlefield. After hearing this, Chu Ran pondered for a few seconds and then said, in other words, either you will win, or the queen will single out the 3 false gods, kill them all, and then reward the 3 armies. Not entirely, Botu said. If the situation worsens to the point where we must fight to the death, the queen will bless us, and that will be the moment of decisive battle. There was a hint of concern on his face. The current war situation is not optimistic. The 9th Legion is fighting on 3 fronts, using its own strength to fight against the 3 false god sects. Although the situation on the other two fronts is relatively stable, the false gods can cultivate fanatics and create a war that is not afraid of death. Madman, there is always no shortage of cannon fodder in the endless abyss, but the Queen's soldiers are not infinite. It takes at least time to train a qualified and loyal soldier, but those despicable false gods can use 10, 20, or even 100 worthless cannon fodder fanatics to fight to the death for an elite soldier. If this kind of battlefield continues, the Ninth Legion will definitely lose. The two sides are not using the same tactics at all. Bo-Tu shook his head, threw these thoughts out of his mind, and said to Chu Ran, "Let's go, I'll take you to get an identity certificate first." Chu Ran looked at Bo-Tu and asked, "Speaking of which, why did the three false gods go to war with the Queen? You can't just start fighting without thinking in just a few words. The real purpose of the war is for benefits. What do they want?" As soon as this question came out, Bo-Tu's face changed slightly, looked at Chu Ran, and said with a complicated expression, "Of course it's for the abyss." Bo-Tu seemed to be very shy about this topic, and shook his huge head, "But these big things are not something we little people should worry about. No matter what, those false gods who want to enter the Queen's territory are our enemies." He stepped forward and continued to lead the way. Chu Ran thought about it. For the abyss, there is indeed a story here that I don't know. Bo-Tu took Chu Ran to the logistics office. He slapped his big hand on the wall and said with a thunderous voice, "Take a scarlet coat of arms." Soon a strange creature squirmed out from inside. It was a dark red jelly-like creature with tentacles all over its body. It was dealing with many things at the same time. Various items were taken out and sorted by it, and some were written. The leather paper was full of abyssal writing, and he wanted to put a seal on it. He looked very busy. It waved its tentacles and was busy, making a gentle voice. "It's Bo-Tu, wait for me for a moment, there are a lot of things to be busy with today." Bo-Tu nodded. "Then I'll find it myself." He lowered his body slightly, got in, and began to rummage through a pile of items. He quickly took out a scarlet coat of arms and handed it to Chu Ran. Chu Ran took the coat of arms, but was still staring at the creature, curiously asking, "What race is this?" Bo-Tu said, "This is the ethnic group created by the Queen after her ascension. We are used to calling them bloodline logistics officers." "Yeah, we don't have a specific name." The bloodline logistics officer was busy and said in a gentle voice, "Are you the Queen's new warrior? What is your name and race?" It took out a piece of leather paper and seemed to be preparing to record Chu Ran's information. Chu Ran scratched his head. "Let's write about the Fishman King." When Bo-Tu heard this, he immediately said happily, "Are you really the Fishman King?" He just saw that Chu Ran was able to press his spiked head on the ground and beat him, so he didn't dare to call him a little fish man again, so he casually called him a Fishman King. Chu Ran said, "It doesn't matter whether it is true or false. If I say it is true, it is true. Besides, I killed so many Murlocs at that time that the Murlocs in the Devil's Sea ran for their lives when they saw me. Is there anything wrong with calling me the Murloc King? Okay, Murloc King, your information has been entered, welcome to join the Ninth Legion." After the bloodline logistics officer finished speaking, he quickly rolled up the piece of paper. At the same time, Chu Ran also saw prompts in front of his eyes. Current camp, Ninth Legion of the Abyss, free identity. When Chu Ran saw this prompt, his heart suddenly moved, so this is what free status means. I can choose any camp to join. This discovery made Chu Ran fall into deep thought and thought of some ideas. At present, if you want to see the Queen, there are only two ways. One is to kill through the barracks and rush directly into the Queen's palace. This route is slightly more risky. The advantage is that you don't need to waste too much time. You can directly try to kill the Queen, or be killed by the Queen. Anyway, in the secret realm, I don't have to worry about really dying. Even if the Queen is incredibly powerful, I can't do anything to her with my own skills, and I have a lot of room for error. The second way is to continue following the mechanism of the secret realm, while exploring the abyss information, while trying to find a way to end this war. If I weren't here for the job transfer mission, I would definitely choose the first option. The experience is stuck, and I can only get bloodline points, so I might as well fight the cult, they have so many people. Kill all the fanatics in the cult, won't the Queen also come out? Chu Ran thought silently, looking down at the scarlet coat of arms in his hand. Scarlet coat of arms, accessories, no level. With this coat of arms, you can prove that you are a warrior of the Queen. Characteristics. Shock. Causes weak shock to non-legion units and weakens attributes. It's similar to the power of the Abyss, but only a weak deterrent. Chu Ran had some vague understanding. After putting away the coat of arms, he said to Bo Tu, "When will we go to the battlefield?" "Huh, are you so anxious?" Bo Tu was still chatting with the Bloodline Logistics officer. When he heard this sentence, his expression changed. "We just suffered a defeat. The commander-in-chief took action to deal with those false god believers. I guess there won't be a conflict in 2 or 3 days, right?" Quote. After speaking, he said to the Bloodline Logistics officer, "Get another set of equipment." The Blood Logistics officer had 2 more tentacles on his body, extending to the rear. He quickly took out a set of black armor with red patterns and a broad-bladed sword. "Take it, this is the welfare of our 9th Legion," Bo Tu said to Chu Ran, but he only felt that his eyes were blurred and the equipment was gone. "Ah, this." He looked at Chu Ran, who remained calm. "What a speed. He is indeed a qualified warrior." Bo Tu nodded secretly, knowing that he had committed the error of empiricism after all and judged people by their appearance. Although this fish-man king looks weak, he is actually very strong. When Chu Ran raised his hand, the broad-bladed giant sword had grown into a size suitable for him to hold, about 1.5 meters long. 9th Legion Standard Greatsword Platinum Unleveled Type, Single Two-Handed Weapon. Strength plus 100. Spirit plus 100. Endurance plus 100. Characteristics. Shock. Causes weak shock to non-legion units and weakens attributes. Balanced attributes, platinum quality, and unleveled equipment. Except for the same characteristics as the Scarlet Emblem, it is simply a novice artifact. Chu Ran's eyes began to look behind the Bloodline Logistics officer and said, "Speaking of which, will this equipment be given to you when you join our 9th Legion?" "1 person at a time." "Of course, this is the standard equipment of the Legion," Bo Tu said. "It's just that the types of weapons are different. The more useful weapons on the battlefield are heavy weapons. All other good stuff has been taken. What's left are these broad-bladed heavy swords and some cavalry lances. No one wants these, and they are all piled up in the warehouse. No one wants them." Chu Ran felt a little sad when he heard this. If this good stuff is taken out, it can at least sell for millions, right? In addition, there is no level limit, and there will be people grabbing it even if it is worth tens of millions. The most important thing is that this thing doesn't need to be brushed. The items dropped by killing monsters are ultimately based on luck, and the weapons that the monsters in the Secret Realm Abyss have in their hands will lose their power and become ordinary items as they die. For good stuff like this that is directly given out when joining the group, Chu Ran thinks that if he brings a group of people to join the 9th Legion, fixes this bug, and brushes equipment in a loop, everyone can get the wool together, and take out thousands or tens of thousands of them, and he can get rich on the spot. Or, just rob. Chu Ran's eyes flashed green as he stared at the entrance of the warehouse. The Bloodline Logistics officer seemed to sense something and moved to block Chu Ran's sight. The warehouse entrance behind him also closed instantly, as if it had disappeared. He said gently, "Soldier, do you have anything else to say?" "Brother, I have another question." Chu Ran looked away with a little regret and asked Bo Tu, "Do the 3 false god cults have this kind of equipment?" Bo Tu's face sank and he said, "Those false gods' religious orders have better equipment than us." "Oh, tell us more." Chu Ran raised his hand and patted Bo Tu's butt. "Let's talk while walking." Bo Tu had a strange look on his face, scratched his butt, and walked half a step away from Chu Ran. As he walked, he said, "The powers of those false gods are all kinds of strange, but they all seem to have some very heaven-defying abilities. You can create unlimited fanatical soldiers, and at the same time, you can also create a batch of powerful equipment. And our soldiers need to be tempered by blood and fire before they can grow up. Our equipment needs to collect materials and hand them over to races that are good at forging for production. All of this has a cost and price. The false gods of the Abyss do not need these costs. They only need to recruit cannon fodder and turn them into fanatic believers to create warriors who are not afraid of death. Their weapons and ordnance are as if they are generated out of thin air. They do not need the materials, don't need to be made. It's like snapping your fingers and those things are delivered to the hands of believers. Botu said, with deep hatred and fear on his face. The cost gap between our two sides in maintaining the war has resulted in this stalemate situation. If not for this, these despicable people would not be the opponents of the 9th Legion at all. Quote. As Chu Ran listened, he felt a familiar sense of déjà vu. Equipment does not require materials or production, it is generated out of thin air. Isn't this the case with Blue Star? All equipment depends on leveling up and peaking when online. Maybe Blue Star professionals have one more step to upgrade than fanatics, but in general, there seems to be no difference. That means that the fanatics of the 3 major religious orders have better equipment and more cannon fodder. It's just that you have stronger physical strength, so you can fight until now. Chu Ran nodded and said, is there a possibility, that is to say, we went to pick up the logistics points of the 3 major religious groups. The 3 armies went ahead without using food and grass. The war was fought for resources. If the head-on confrontation could not solve the problem, we used their supplies and robbed their things to strengthen ourselves. This is also a good idea. Wei. Of course we have tried this method, but... Botu's voice paused and he sighed, it's difficult. The believers of the false gods invest more troops and supplies than even the front battlefield. With the cannon fodder creatures in the endless abyss behind them, those despicable false gods have unlimited sources of troops. We have already tried every method we can think of. The resources of troops are unlimited, and the supplies are also unlimited. The number of troops to protect logistics is even greater than that on the front battlefield. Chu Ran looked at Botu and said, then let's give it a try. Botu said in a deep voice, how can this be so? He said excitedly, if those despicable false gods are allowed to occupy the blood abyss. Before he finished speaking, a sharp whine suddenly echoed over the entire city, and each sound was louder than the other, which was very harsh. There had been a similar sound before when Botu came back with his defeated army, but this time it seemed a little different. Botu's expression changed drastically. He picked up Chu Ran and put it on his shoulders. Oh no, something happened on the frontline battlefield. Could it be that the commander-in-chief was defeated? King of Fishmen, you are a bit unlucky, it's time to go to the battlefield now. What's the front line? Isn't it right at the door of the house? Chu Ran sat on the shoulder armor and sighed. As for the bad luck, I have reservations. Let's go, I will let you learn a lot. After saying that, Chu Ran turned his head and glanced at the Queen's palace. In the 30-story prismatic tower, the red light patterns flashed faster. If the breathing was even before, now it has become a rapid and angry breathing. Chu Ran glanced at the tower and had a vague feeling that there seemed to be something wrong with the Queen. Otherwise, your job change item would not be called the Forgotten Authority. As for what authority actually is, we can wait until we meet the Queen in person to ask. Put the knife on her neck, not afraid that she wouldn't say anything. Just when Chu Ran was thinking about it, Botu had already started running, and the whole camp was boiling. Various abyssal creatures were holding weapons and wearing standard armor. They didn't shout, but just silently moved in one direction. Convergence. Not long after, Botu came to the city wall and pulled over an abyssal creature. What's going on? What happened on the front line? This creature has no head and looks about 3 meters tall. It has more than a dozen arms on its back, but it has dense eyes. Those arms monitor the battlefield in various directions. When it heard Botu's words, the creature's chest opened and its mouth opened. Buzzed, it's the false god who took action. Botu clenched his fists and looked towards the front line where smoke was billowing and blood mist filled the air. Which false god is it? The god of love and destruction. He should have been on his own front, but he suddenly arrived here. The headless creature buzzed. The commander is delaying him, but what? Botu was almost dying of anxiety. What did you see? All the arms of the headless creature came to the same position, stared at it for a while, and said, there is another powerful creature fighting against the false god. It is very strong, stronger than the great commander. Botu was startled, then said ecstatically, is he the commander of other fronts? No, the headless creature said, that's a creature I've never seen before. It stretched out an arm and looked at Botu, and stared at Chu Ran with one eye. She looks similar to him, but a little older. Ah, the Fishmen clan. Botu's eyes widened and he turned to look at Chu Ran on his shoulder. the Fishmen King, are you your warrior? Chu Ran already knew who it was when he heard this. There were only two humans in the secret realm, one was himself and the other was Lao Ji Yu. But he didn't expect Lao Ji Yu to be so powerful that he could fight against the false god. After a pause, Chu Ran said calmly, "Yes, it's my general, brother, this is a good opportunity. The false god has been held back by my men, at least one front has been freed. I think we should go to the queen to give her advice and concentrate our troops to attack that front. Maybe we can directly destroy a false god cult." "Murloc King, what are you talking about?" Bo Tu said angrily. "Your people are fighting for you, and even dare to challenge the despicable false god. But you want to escape from the battlefield. No, listen to me." Chu Ran was speechless. "Aren't we fighting? We have to consider how to win." Bo Tu turned a deaf ear and stood on the city wall and roared, "The false god has been held back by the warriors of the Murloc King. The abyss has not abandoned us. The queen's territory cannot be trampled by false gods." His voice was as loud as thunder, and he held the edge of the city wall with one hand and roared, "The Ninth Legion." Ah! The roar of a landslide and tsunami suddenly came from the whole city. Bo Tu's face was full of murderous intent, and he turned over and jumped off the 100-meter-high wall. Kill. Warm reminder. If you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error, or contact us at the bottom to let us know. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. Bo Tu jumped off the city wall, and his roar continued to drop. To him, this 100-meter-high city wall was actually like a slightly higher slope, but Chu Ran, who was sitting on his shoulders, was confused. Don't worry about whether this height can knock him to death. The point is, who is a good person who has nothing to do and jumps over the city wall to play? Just in case, his level 60 Abyss Messenger is really thrown to death by the 100-meter-high wall. If he shoots there, he will be laughed at for the rest of his life. No matter how stupid Chu Ran was, there was no way he would bet against him, so he activated the wings of the abyss in midair, unfolded his black wings, and watched as Bo Tu fell to the ground with a roar, shattering the ground within a few dozen meters. Ninth Legion. Kill the enemy, he roared at the top of his lungs. The city gate opened instantly. Countless abyss warriors poured out from it, holding various weapons and roaring towards the battlefield. King of Fishmen, let's join forces and find your people first. With such powerful warriors assisting us, we will definitely be able to chop off the head of the false god today. Bo Tu was also running wildly, mumbling excitedly. However, after receiving no response for a long time, he couldn't help but turn his head and look over his shoulder. King of Fishmen. Why don't you speak? Looking at it, Bo Tu was immediately shocked. King of Fishmen. Where have you been, King of Fishmen? Chu Ran could see it clearly in midair, and was completely convinced by this brother. He spread his wings and flew away with a roar, flying in front of Bo Tu and waving to him. Brother, what I'm saying is, when you jumped over the city wall, did you ever consider that you were taking someone with you? You made the scene very exciting and passionate, and you did a good job, but you jumped down as soon as you screamed, and I almost fell to the ground. Fortunately I can fly, otherwise you could have asked my general to burn my first 7 pieces of paper for me. Chu Ran sighed. Without hundreds of Legion uniforms, I'm afraid I won't be able to get through this matter. But Bo Tu stared at the black wings on Chu Ran's back with a dumbfounded expression, and exclaimed, aren't you a fish man? When will fishmen be able to fly? Is this a new evolutionary route? Chu Ran was also embarrassed. He didn't expect that at this time, Bo Tu was still thinking about his bee Murloc. He sighed. Then have you ever considered a question? There are some awesome and hypocritical Murlocs. Are you a master of being tough on God? Bo Tu frowned and thought for a moment, then said, it's hard to say. After all, every ethnic group in the abyss has the potential to give birth to an emperor. What if you fishmen also give birth to a fishman emperor? Okay, I won't argue with you. Chu Ran didn't talk to Bo Tu anymore, and continued to talk more and more. If Lao Ji Yu knew that he had entered the secret realm, he would have gone around in the blink of an eye. He has completed his advancement from the great master of the Fishmen clan to the king of Fishmen, and I am afraid he will be so angry that he will get angry. Lao Ji Yu, call Lao Ji Yu. Chu Ran directly opened the team communication and started calling Ji Yu Changeling. A few seconds passed, and Gu Changeling said in a deep voice, I'm busy, you kid, find a place to live alone first. If it doesn't work, you can die out of the secret realm. It's not really dead anyway. The voice on his side was very noisy, and there was an explosion almost every time he said a few words. It can be seen that the battle on Gu Changeling's side is very fierce, and it can basically be concluded that this guy is fighting with the false god. In this secret realm, who else besides the queen can threaten Gu Changeling, an 8th level scholar? It can only be the false god behind the 3 major religious groups. Chu Ran said, Lao Gu, you can do it. How long have you been in the secret realm and you have already touched a big boss? The false god of the abyss sounds weird. Don't overturn. I will lead my troops to support you. Quote. The false god of the abyss is certainly weird. Gu Changeling said in a deep voice. The Special Affairs Department investigates hundreds of cases related to the false gods of the abyss every year. There are crazy abyss fanatics and contaminated human beings. Anyway, if you get involved with these ghosts, there will basically be no good consequences. Quote. I said that we underestimated this secret realm. Mainly because we didn't expect that there were 3 false gods here. Moreover, I landed on the base camp of one of the false gods. I didn't even have time to choose my camp. I was judged as hostile on the spot and could only follow he did it. Wait, lead the troops. Gu Changeling came to his senses mid-sentence. What kind of soldiers do you bring? Where did you get the soldiers? Chu Ran asked. Is there a helper beside you who is working with you as a false god? Gu Changeling was silent for a while and said, that is the commander-in-chief under the Scarlet Queen, equivalent to the Abyss Nobles, your soldiers. You are more bragging than me. Chu Ran said calmly. Then don't worry about it, just tell me whether you can help or not. No matter what you do, just say it is useful or not. You kid won't choose the camp of the 9th Legion, right? Gu Changeling was completely speechless by Chu Ran. Isn't your job transfer mission to find the Scarlet Queen? Why did you vote? Chu Ran glanced at the Abyss warriors behind him and said, I suddenly thought of a better plan than the Queen directly. Lao Gu, please sacrifice yourself and hold on to that little Cupid. Before you die, don't do it. Leave him free to take care of other things. What do you want to do? Gu Changeling had some bad feelings in his heart. Although the two of them hadn't been together for too long, Gu Changeling had already seen the photos of Chu Ran in Tianmen City to death. He was a great scholar. If he didn't understand this, Chu Ran's character and temper made his life a waste. The most important thing is that Chu Ran is shameless and has some of the style of his youth. Gu Changeling knows himself, so he thinks he knows Chu Ran too. When Chu Ran said that he had a good plan, it was assumed that he was going to do something big. Gu Changeling was about to say something when a shocking explosion came from the other side. This time, not only Chu Ran, who was connected to the team channel, heard it, but all the Abyss warriors who were preparing to go to the battlefield heard it clearly. Many Abyss warriors looked up and looked forward. A large piece of colorful cloud spread out, and it seemed that countless colorful bubbles were hidden in it. As long as you look at it from a distance, you will be attracted. Many Abyss warriors stared straight at it, and they didn't know what they saw. Chu Ran, don't stare at it, this is the method of the false god. Gu Changeling reminded in the team channel. However, his reminder was a step late, and the information flow without damage judgment was faster. Shadow Guardian judgment takes effect, defense coefficient calculated. Error, error, error. Contacted with unknown authority. Shadow Guardian judgment takes effect, this damage has been exempted. Unknown authority. The colorful bubbles floating in the sky, is it the authority of the false god? Before Chu Ran had time to think about it, he saw a figure appear in front of the colorful bubbles. It was Gu Changeling. He seemed to have activated some skills, and punched out with his bare hands. The world seemed to be quiet for a second. Then, the bubbles in the sky were smashed by Gu Changeling's punch on the spot, and a hole was poked in the blood-red sky. Idiot. Chu Ran looked at the huge hole in the sky. He had always shocked others with cheating, but now he was really shocked. Lao Gu, tell me the truth, are you a non-staff member of the God of War Palace? With your fighting ability, why don't you become the God of War? No one even goes to the God of War mansion. Gu Changeling punched a hole in the sky, which was actually an extremely unstable space channel. Various incomprehensible sounds came from it, as if the whispers of hundreds of millions of creatures overlapped. The passage only lasted a few seconds before returning to its original state. Gu Changeling said in a deep tone, "How about it? Is this teacher worthy of recognition? If you ask me to have a fight with the true form of the false god, I will definitely run away. There is absolutely no chance. I am just fighting an afterimage of the real world in a secret realm." He hummed twice. "Today I, Gu Changeling, slaughtered a god to strengthen the reputation of my human race. Yes, 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 awesome Lao Gu." Chu Ran flattered him for a while, turned to look at the confused Abyss warriors, and immediately told the team channel, "Then don't let your guard down, hold on, I'm going to do something big. Go ahead, I'll take care of it." Gu Changeling looked over in the sky, and immediately cut off the team's communication, shook his right hand, and forcibly controlled it to prevent it from shaking, and let out a sigh of relief. "I almost overturned the car." The punch he just punched was not a casual one. It's basically one of his most powerful trump cards until he reaches rank 8. This skill is called Intelligent Thinking. Active skill, Intelligent Thinking. Unlimited, undefined, is true wisdom. Active skills. Flexibly mobilize one's own multi-dimensional attributes, choose to temporarily freeze the secondary attributes, strengthen the selected main attributes. Enhancement exchange coefficient. 2. Won't last for 30 minutes, after the end, it is forced to enter a weak state. All attributes are reduced by 50%. Duration 24 hours. Cooling time, 30 days. Just now, Gu Changeling cut his highest mental attributes and endurance attributes in half, using them to strengthen his strength attributes. In other words, his strength attribute just now was incredible, higher than many 9-turn legends, so he could crush the authority released by the false god with one punch using his own strength alone. But this thing is equivalent to explosive seeding. 30 minutes of high power enhancement. Isn't he the god of war now? The 8th level god of war from the god of war mansion has to run away when he comes. They really can't stand up to the strength attribute. Gu Changeling finally stabilized his trembling right hand, looked at the panting purple-haired commander not far away, and asked, "Can I still fight?" The purple-haired commander raised the corner of his mouth, revealing a pointed canine tooth. He waved his spear directly and said in a cold voice, "The despicable false god dares to step into the queen's territory, and he will pay the price." Gu Changeling had also communicated with the intelligent creatures of the abyss, and was used to this style of painting. He nodded and said, "As long as you can still fight, hold it back. Kill if you can, and run away if you can't." Although he boasted loudly just now, the strength of the pseudo-god of the abyss starts at the emperor level, and he also has all kinds of strange abilities. As he said, if he meets the pseudo-god's true form, he will definitely be impressed, but even if it is just the afterimage of the false god is not so easy to deal with. 9th Legion, no deserters. The commander said in a deep voice, "Kill." She had already rushed forward. The true form of the god of love and destruction is hidden deep in the gorgeous clouds, and its huge shadow is vaguely visible, like a mountain peak hanging high in the sky. Gu Changeling squeezed the time. He still had 27 minutes. He tried his best to crush this false god. There was nothing to worry about if he entered a weak state for a day. Anyway, he would not really die in the secret realm. He tried his best for Chu Ran. Let's clear some obstacles. On the battlefield, those abyss warriors who had been affected by the false god's authority gradually recovered, and some of them were confused and still talking about strange things. Botu was one of the first warriors to recover. He shook his big head, looked at the gorgeous clouds in the sky in the distance, gritted his teeth and said, "The false god is really cunning. King Murloc, your warrior is very fierce. He is still fighting hard. We have to take action." Botu looked at Chu Ran, anxiously trying to help Lao Jiyu take the pressure off. In his opinion, the warrior of the Fishmen tribe is simply a fierce man from heaven, dragging the god of love and destruction to beat him up. Such a good opportunity. If their 9th Legion does not take the opportunity to destroy this false god, it will be a waste of fish. The kindness of a human warrior. Of course, Botu was not stupid, and he did not say stupid things about us going directly to kill the gods. No matter how much he said he despised the false gods of the abyss, Botu still recognized their strength. After all, they are existences that can be compared with the queen. To deny their strength is to deny the queen. What's more, with their strength, if they go directly to fight against the false gods, they will definitely be delivering food. So what Bo2 wants to do is to kill as many fanatic believers as possible first, at least to seize the advantage of this front, and the rest is wait quietly for the queen to take action. With such a big thing happening outside, the queen will definitely take action to calm the battle, but when exactly it will happen, Bo2 dare not say. The only thing he can do is take this opportunity to kill those fanatical believers. Brother, please be patient. I have an idea. Chu Ran raised his hand, maintaining the wings of the abyss, floating at a height of 6 or 7 meters, just a little taller than most of the tall warriors of the 9th Legion, and then activated the Abyss Kingship, glanced at the key point. Take care of those Abyss warriors who have been confused by the power of false gods. The Abyss soldiers, who were originally in a daze, suddenly felt a burst of fear, their whole bodies became weak, and their expressions all turned into surprise, shock, and confusion. Chu Ran was too lazy to waste time to wake them up, and he used poison to fight poison. After waking up almost all the soldiers of the 9th Legion, Chu Ran raised his voice, "Everyone look at me. Murloc King, what are you going to do?" Bo2 felt a little confused. However, he was the only one who knew Chu Ran at the scene, so he had to stand up and introduce him. "This is the king of the fishmen. Did you see the warrior who dared to challenge him? He is the general under the command of the Fishmen King. The king of the fishmen. Is that powerful creature actually a fishman?" "No, Bo2, are there any differences in our understanding of fishmen?" Faced with the doubts of these soldiers, Bo2 didn't know what to say, but Chu Ran snorted coldly and said, "I won't talk nonsense. In fact, I am an ally of the queen. I was entrusted by the queen to come and examine the quality of you soldiers. It's a pity that your performance disappointed the queen. You have made the queen lose her face. So, you are deprived of the qualification to continue to act in the name of the 9th Legion." When Chu Ran said this, he once again increased the power of the Abyss Kingship. The soldiers present became weaker, more fearful, and even desperate. Bo2 was extremely shocked and said, "Ah, you are the queen's ally. We have been abandoned by the queen. Then what should we do?" Chu Ran looked at Bo2 with satisfaction. This brother is very good at getting along with others. He is really good at making jokes. Clearing his throat slightly, Chu Ran said calmly, "From now on, you are the Fishmen Army, the Avengers on the battlefield. If you want to wash away the shame, remember one thing. Obey my orders, just like obeying the Queen's orders. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more."